In space, no one can hear you scream. Hey, hey, Wolfpack, we're back with another surprise tier list. Making sure everything works. Alright. Yep, we're gonna do another tier list. Surprise, we do have another one. I was gonna save this one for later, but then I remembered it's 4th of July weekend coming up, and you're probably gonna hear a bunch of fireworks and people partying going on in the back, so I decided, hey, might as well do it early because I do have this week off for the holiday. Had to be here for this one. Cat Alien was the first R-rated movie I was allowed to watch. Hey, John Smith. Hey, Cat. Hey, Light Jones. Alright, people are starting to come in. Yep, this time we're returning back to our horror roots with another iconic horror franchise a lot of people have been requesting, the Alien Saga. Yep, that's right, we have all of the Alien movies plus an extra all you fans will recognize. Yeah, we're gonna finally talk about the Alien Saga. This one has been just as requested as the Freddy movies and Jason movies have. A lot of people have asked my thoughts on this saga ever since I did a ranking on all the Predator movies. My Predator ranking is now a bit outdated because we had two more new Predator stories, but yeah, a lot of people want me to talk about the Predator's rival, the Alien, the Xenomorph, the ultimate life form. All the Alien movies, yes, we do have the crossovers here, we do have up to Romulus, got all the classics and the not so great films. In this stream, no one can hear you scream. I mean, we're just typing, so of course not. Hey, Shadowlink. Man of Steel, you're still GOAT. Oh wait, wrong live stream. Ever gonna let that go, Light Jones? Hey everyone, glad to see the Alien movies at long last. Yep, finally talking about them. I was gonna save this for the weekend, but then I remembered it's 4th of July coming up. I do have a holiday special scheduled for that, but live streams probably not gonna do because I'll be busy partying, and most of you will probably be busy partying as well because Independence Day is coming up. But you know, I had time and wanted to do a smaller tier list, so we're doing the Alien Saga. The Alien is called a Xenomorph, technically. For those of you who don't know, Alien is a huge horror sci-fi series. It has been around since, I believe, 1979, has had a lot of great films, and a lot of WTF entries we'll be going over. Got pretty much every film up here, plus an extra which you keen-eye viewers will probably recognize. Yeah, I want to end this on a high note, so yeah. Got every Alien film, including its two crossovers with Predator. For those of you who don't know, the Alien Saga is very basically at its core a slasher saga, but dips into a lot of sci-fi, grandiose themes, and has a slasher killer who is more or less a space monster. Like, what if our psycho killer was actually a cosmic, sadistic, mass-murdering, nightmarish space life form, the alien, the Xenomorph. The Xenomorph has acid for blood, kills you upon being born, murders you even after death, is this creepy, scaly, insect-looking monster, this tall, lanky, slender, like skeletal-looking ghoul, basically. The alien is an iconic horror monster up there next to Freddy, the Predator, has been in Mortal Kombat where you could actually play Alien versus Predator. And basically, this thing is a scary cosmic monster from beyond the reaches of dark space. It has eggs and goes through this complex life cycle, has its own lore, its own backstory, some questionable retconning here and there, High Covenant and Prometheus, and basically, it's a monster. The alien is a cosmic monster. It either murders you for food or to reproduce its species, usually reproduction. It at first hatches from an egg as a face hugger, hugs your face basically and impregnates you with the actual xenomorph and uses living beings as basically birthing chambers. It kills you by impregnating you with an alien, and if it doesn't kill you, if you weren't attacked by the face hugger and essentially raped, then it will just eat you and murder you for fun or sport. Yeah, the Alien has actually been around a long time. They have done a lot of great things with this saga, a lot of new stories. Basically, it's a survival horror. All the characters are trying to fight to survive. The aliens are not your common animal. They are smart. Basically, space velociraptors. They can think. They can outwit their opponents. They are dangerous hunters. So dangerous that even the predator struggles to fight them. The xenomorphs are definitely barbaric animals. They get sadistic pleasure out of hunting, out of killing, and essentially raping people to reproduce. It is a cosmic horror story, so expect a lot of R-rated body horror, bloodshed, and the monsters essentially doing suggestive things to the people they kill, essentially kind of violating them. I mean, the alien face hugger looks very phallic, so yeah. And basically every movie, humans fight to survive them. We have the greatest final girl, Ellen Ripley, in 4 of these movies. Then we have new cast members, new ideas, new approaches to the alien, and basically you have to kill them or just plain survive them. The aliens are dangerous threats, almost nigh unstoppable, and have had many stories throughout the years, the most recent one being Alien Romulus, so very much a iconic cinematic horror monster to this very day. Alien 3 has issues, but the extended cut helps. You mean the assembly cut, John Smith. Hey everyone, glad to see the Alien movies at long last. Yep, finally doing them. Hi Kat, hey Akira, so Alien. Yep, we're talking about Alien. Prey and King of Whatever weren't really good. Yeah, I've heard that. I didn't watch Prey. Honestly, I thought the Predator sequel Prey was actually canceled. I heard that rumor going around, which is why I ended up doing that ranking before finding out, they actually did do it. And then there was that Predator animated series. I've not seen that. I watched the Santa one. That one was funny. Since why they look so ugly? Well, they are pretty much cosmic horror monsters and have a lot of phallic imagery. Everyone makes fun of how the xenomorph's head basically looks like a schlong, kind of. And I can see that. H.R. Geiger created the designs of these monsters. Ridley Scott was the creator of Alien, and unfortunately, when he came back to the series, he did not take it in a good direction. Yeah, I probably will upset some people, but I am not a fan of Ridley Scott's Alien prequels, but we'll be going over that. You take a word as simple as Alien and you make it into a franchise, Ridley Scott. Not to mention, Alien has an upcoming series, Alien Earth, so kind of good timing for this. Yeah, talking about all the basic movies, plus an extra story here. Yeah, I really wanted to do this earlier, but had some trouble scheduling and had a lot of stuff to do. Is only like a size of a rat when it's born, but it grows to be 10 feet tall. Yeah, when it hatches, the chest burster is what they call the alien fetus. It looks like this small little eel-like alien. It's only like the size of as they said, a rat or a hamster. Then it slowly but surely grows within like minutes. The time it takes for an alien to become an adult has changed and varied from each passing sequel, but it used to take a longer time in Alien 1 and Aliens, and then suddenly Alien vs. Predator, it happens within minutes. Yeah, but we need the plot rolling. Fun fact, Mina Ashido from My Hero Academia, first hero name was almost become Alien Queen, but it's scrapped and changed to Pinky. That is a weird trivia. The first Alien director's cut was basically retconned in Aliens, as it reveals they need a queen and not just a xenomorphic can reproduce on its own. Yeah, the alien queen is kind of the ultimate leader of the aliens. The aliens operate like insects. They form hives. They either take you as food or to reproduce more of their own kind, and they do follow an alien queen. If you watch the first Alien, they can actually turn their victims into like eggs, which kind of weird, but also had that very visceral imagery. This was kind of retcon in James Cameron's sequel moving forward. I do think James Cameron did a lot more for the lore of the xenomorphs, while Ridley Scott liked keeping them vague, and then Alien Covenant happened. I haven't watched the CGI Predator 1 yet, but I enjoyed Prey for the most part. Okay. Not sure I could have asked for a better for my first R-rated movie. Yeah, they are pretty kick-ass films. You know, when AVP came out back in 2004, they released Predator hands for little kids, and they were called Child Predator hands. But marketing doesn't regret that title. My feelings on Romulus are a bit of a hot take, I know, but we'll get there. Yeah, Romulus will be getting to all these movies. But yeah, got all these films. For those of you, I will explain if this is your first tier list ever, I will be ranking all of the Alien movies, plus extra, up on this tier list, ranking them from top best to bottom worst. And their quality will land them on each one of these slots. Up top we have the ultimate life form. Yep, this is S tier, the perfect 10 out of 10s, the platinum skull trophies, the ultimate cinematic masterpieces, the best alien stories ever told, and we actually will see the fan favorites go up here, so you know it's probably gonna win. But underneath it, we have not bad for a human. These ones, second place. Definitely like them. They had a lot good going for them. I would consider them like 7 or 8 out of 10 movies. Definitely a fun entry, very watchable, very entertaining. Did not do any harm to the franchise. They are just pure dumb monster movie fun. Then, smack in the middle, Stay Frosty. These ones, the mess, the mediocres, the bronze skulls, the so okay they're average, right smack in the middle. Didn't do anything all that great, but also didn't do anything absolutely horrible. The ones I'm lukewarm on. Then you have my sympathies. Yeah, these ones, underwhelming, the lame ducks, the bronze skull territory, ones that could have amounted to something. They do have their good moments. I can see a spark of something good in these films, but overall ended up disappointing, badly executed, just whatever movies. But at rock bottom, game over, man. These are the awful ones, the decayed skulls, the 0 out of 10s, and I think you know exactly what's gonna go down here, but you get the picture. God-awful movies, not just bad as alien movies, but possibly the worst films you'll ever see. So yeah, these are my rankings. Kept it very simple, only 5 slots this time, because we don't have too many movies, and they do vary from person to person. The first 2 we agree are masterpieces, then everything after you either love, hate, or are completely distant from. For some odd reason, it never shows them how they make the cocoon and hive. Yeah, that is kind of weird. It's supposed to be kind of scary that we don't see it, but yeah, it kind of makes no sense how you form a living person into like this gooey blob thing. My feelings on Romulus, I read that one. I suppose if you wanted to try to headcanon some sense out of it, you could say the growth rate varies depending on the host. Yeah, it does, but when most of the characters are humans, and the growth rate still alters, being either super fast or super slow, that's where it got weird. Yeah, most of the characters are humans in this. Ironically, we don't see the aliens impregnate too many other extraterrestrials. I think the Predator does get impregnated. Yeah, that one does happen. But like if you're talking about like other aliens, like this is not something on par with Star Wars or Star Trek where there's like 1,000 different life forms walking around. Most of the cast are always humans. The main protagonist is always a human main character, and usually we see the aliens impregnating humans. Some other aliens were hit, but it's usually a corpse or long dead. I remember Scooby-Doo made an alien reference. Yeah, the Moon Monster Madness one. Like Mystery Inc. with the horrible herd, like a cow with the crown of the Xenomorph Queen, and the Moon Monster Madness. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. What baffled me about the Alien series is that the quadrilogy was numbered pretty weirdly. Like we had Alien, then Aliens, and Aliens Cubed. That Alien Resurrection, only not out of the 4 has a number. Like I see Regular Show made a reference to the alien with the xenomorph with her eyes. Yeah, the bad roommate. I'm going to go on and say it because obvious. Alien is the GOAT, yeah. Used to be canonically 10 hours until the alien fully grows. Well, Alien vs. Predator made that 10 seconds. Alright, so let's get this tier list underway. Let's start with, of course, the first movie. The first Ridley Scott film, Alien. And is there really any doubt? It's going on the ultimate life form. Yeah, I know, very predictable, but hey, it's a movie classic for a reason because it is super good. Now, I won't lie, Alien 1 is not my personal number one, but it is still a good film. It is a classic horror movie. It's definitely a slow burn story because the Xenomorph does not show up for like 50 minutes. It's a 2-hour film, and I would say it feels more like a Star Trek horror movie. We're following essentially a group of space truckers who are out here journeying across space until they explore a completely destroyed ship. And we meet all the classic characters: Ellen Ripley, played by Sigourney Weaver in her first ever film role, John Hurt as Kane. We meet Dallas, we meet Parker, we meet, what was her name? Like Cartwright or something. Yeah, Nancy Cartwright was her name. I can't remember her name, but yeah. And, of course, who can forget Ash? I do know his name. Played by Ian Holm. John Hurt was like the only famous celebrity attached to this movie. Nobody heard of all these cast members, and this was essentially the horror film which put them on the map. These space truckers are basically escorting cargo. However, they stumble upon a wrecked ship and decide to check it out. And we see what would eventually become the Prometheus ship. They explore basically the space jockeys, the weird engineer ship, and stumble upon dozens of eggs, and John Hurt goes out and of course has to investigate it. So to their credit, they do not know what a xenomorph is by this point. It is a complete discovery of a lifetime. However, while John Hurt is looking closely at the egg, it hatches and we get the iconic jump scare of the facehugger jumping him and piercing his space helmet completely. Ian Holm was the OG Bilbo Baggins. Yep, that's him. Ian Holm is awesome. Catch up on comments. Well, I don't know why that is the goal of the Xenomorph. Yeah, basically they want to form an army. Still one of my favorite horror films to this day. Perfect horror atmosphere, great characters, and great build up to the Xenomorph, which its design still holds up well today. Yeah, the Xenomorph, because we don't know anything about the alien at this point, it is a total intro to the alien monster. We learn more about it as it slowly picks off the space team one by one. This is a very massive Star Destroyer-sized ship. However, it's run by like 7 to 8 people. We have a very small, minimalist cast, and basically it's a survival horror story. As we all know, we get that iconic scene where the chest burster happens. They manage to get the facehugger off of Kane. It lets go of him. We learn about the alien mythos through trying to do surgery on him. Like, we study the egg, they look at the facehugger, try and cut it off, but finds out it has acid for blood, and it seemingly lets go, and Kane is no worse for wear, despite being violated by this thing. He seems healthy. And then we get to the iconic and scary scene of the movie, the dinner scene, where all of them are talking, and none of the actors were told that this would happen, that this is where the chest burster comes out. Kane is trying to lighten up the mood, trying to hang out with friends, and then the alien bursts out of his chest and splatters blood on everyone. And we see the cool baby xenomorph who runs around, and because we don't know about the alien at this point, we do not know that's going to grow at a very fast rate. The alien scurries off and escapes down the hatches, and the crew give John Hurt a proper burial, and won't lie, the first half of the movie might turn some people off. It is a slow burn start to the alien universe. We're introduced to basically all the victims, get to know them, get to like them, see the chemistry they have together, learn the team dynamic, and set up foreshadowing clues over either their deaths or this character's story arc. Yeah, the Xenomorph doesn't show fully grown until like the first hour. Yeah, you heard that right, the first hour. This movie is like 2 hours, 10 minutes at max, unless you're watching an extended cut, and yeah, the first hour, John Hurt is the only character who dies, and it's when the alien is born out of him. They hold like a funeral for him, and it does kind of humanize them a lot more. You do get to attach yourselves to the characters, because in the original script, they did not plan Ellen Ripley to be a final girl. Sigourney Weaver's character basically survives because they made up as they went along what would these characters do, and it would end up being her as the iconic final girl because Ripley is the smartest character on the ship. They set up clues that there's something going on with Ash, and basically they try to hunt down the xenomorph, still thinking it's a baby, and Firefly gets horribly murdered by it chasing the cat alone in the dark hallway. Yeah, you do kind of see the death coming, but what made it work is that we get the big reveal of how huge the alien is. Firefly's like hunting Jonesy the cat, of course, gets separated from the group and goes down a dark tunnel, and the alien shows up. It was actually camouflaging like within eyesight. It was like holding onto this chain suspended above him and drops itself down, and the alien actually is a guy in a suit, which is why it looks very creepy, because he's actually there. The later movies would make the xenomorph CGI to questionable degrees in some of these sequels, but yeah, it is actually a guy in a monster suit, and it looks very creepy. We get the big reveal of the adult xenomorph, and he murders Firefly horribly, and the cat runs away after a scary face shot. The fact that it was never explained even by Ridley Scott is what made this movie still legendary to this very day. Exactly. Tom Skerritt played Captain Dallas, also played Alex Mattingly in the Twilight Zone episode, What Are Friends For? I always liked the dialogue between each other. They spoke just like regular people, like a working crew. Yeah, the crew of the Nostromo, very much, I would say, blue-collar workers. They're just ordinary Joes doing their day job, and that kind of helped you relate with them more because they're like friends at work. They're just doing their job. It's set in the future, but they all talk like regular people, and that's what actually got you to care for them. These are not generic stock characters just there to die. There actually is dramatic weight behind their deaths, and when they start losing them, because you start to realize the cast is alone with this monster, and that's what made the atmosphere very scary. The more characters died, the more alone our survivors start to feel, and they feel like this thing is definitely outsmarting them, outmaneuvering them, and it shows you how smart the alien is because it's picking off basically a pack, and that's what makes it very dangerous and very creepy. The alien is a smart horror monster attacking smart horror characters. Well, except for Nancy Cartwright's character. She's pretty dumb, but yeah, you get the idea. Well, OG live-action film Bilbo Baggins won't have anyone getting technical on me, lol. Yeah, Ian Holm is a legendary. He plays Ash, this very creepy guy, and if you know the twist, Ash is a robot. Ash is actually a robot planted by the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, and it turns out this was actually in his programming all along. Weyland-Yutani is sort of the looming threat, the human villains of the Alien saga. Weyland-Yutani is in pretty much all these films, and basically they're this rich, powerful corporation who want to capture and profit off of the xenomorph. It's not explained why in this movie, but you have the feeling that it's for like weapon studies and to basically conquer this alien creature and raise it as their own super weapon. We find out Ash was planted in the crew, and the crew are expendable. Ash has to complete this mission of capturing the alien and bringing it back to the corporation, and the crew are pretty much the bait. They're being used to lure in the monster, and whether they live or die does not matter. The Weyland-Yutani crew find out they're expendable pawns, and this was planned all along. They knew the alien was dangerous and risked their lives anyway, and basically it becomes kind of a who can you trust type of survival horror. Ash is revealed to be a robot. They beat up Ian Holm and decapitate him, and he reveals the truth that they do know what this alien is, and they do know it's dangerous, and the crew were basically used as bait, and they blow up Ash's head, and he dies, only for him to somehow come back in Romulus, but we'll get there. And basically, it is a lot of horror movie kills. It is very creepy. The alien, surprisingly, is not on screen for a lot of the film. He's obscured in the shadows, hunting them, or shows up via jump scares, and that kind of made it creepier. There is only one alien in this movie, and we find out that it is outsmarting them. Captain Dallas tries to hunt it in the vents, and we get that really surprising jump scare that we find out it was actually on a different level following him, and there's brief glimpses of the alien watching them in the shadows or scurrying behind them, which made it very scary. Daryl Cooper in Poison Ivy. Sigourney Weaver was also Danette Barrett in Ghostbusters, yeah, her other best horror film. was the Morrow Bay voice in Finding Dory. I did not remember her being in that. Lady Star Blaster and Pen Zero Part-Time Hero. Yeah, Sigourney Weaver's been in a lot of great stuff. I heard they didn't write any of the characters with gender in mind. They just cast all the best ones, male or female. Yeah, they all call each other by last names. Ellen Ripley is not called Ellen at all in the movie. They called her Ripley because it was a gender-neutral casting, and yeah, pretty much it went to the stars who earned being the character. It wasn't only the acting that were convincing, but also the cussing between characters also seemed so natural, like was no script to go off of and just knew when to say it if the scene called for it. Okay. Truckers in space were Ridley Scott's exact words. Space truckin'. Harry Dean Stanton, R.I.P., who also played Brett, was in the movie Alpha Dog. That pretty good movie. Rango, awesome movie. Inland Empire. And he was in The Avengers 2012. I did not know that. Honestly, just say the kills actually become more scary and traumatizing as they go on. Yeah, they do. Alright, shaking my microphone. The reason why the jump scares were handled so greatly is because there was no loud music there, there was just the continuous creepy music that cuts off right after the alien kills or continue as the alien pursues. Exactly, it was a lot more effective because they don't play a loud scare chord. Veronica Cartwright played Lambert, that was her name. Okay, thank you. She was also in The Loud House. Eunice Harmon in Gotham Knights. Ooh, major step down. And the mother in Scary Movie 2. That one was funny. Yep, aliens confirmed Ellen as her first name. Yeah, that was next one. I hope Ellen Ripley versus Sarah Connor need to happen in Death Battle in live action by Isha Mahak, who created the Nightwing series. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Appropriately enough, he's the guy that asks Bruce Banner questions if he's an alien. Okay, so I think the most brutal death scene in this movie happens to Lambert. It's implied that she's, violated to death by the xenomorph. I was always pissed that she got Parker killed because Lambert has this total hysterical woman freak out. The xenomorph jumps down, ambushes them when they're trying to kill it, and Lambert freezes up and is paralyzed with fear, and Parker cannot get a kill shot on this thing without shooting her, so he tries to wrestle the alien away from her, and it is a completely tragic and senseless sacrifice because this woman is crying and is useless and basically backs herself up into a corner and doesn't run away when the guy gives her time. So Parker dies a very brutal death, being killed by that second's tongues piercing his head, and I do think Lambert got the worst kill because we see like the tail going up between her crotch, and her screaming sounds very, very suggestive. And we never see how she dies, but when Ripley gets there, her pants are missing and she's like suspended up in midair, and yeah, it is not hard to figure out how the alien did her in. I hope there will be an alien anime with Lucy Hartfilia, actress, or Grey DeLisle playing Ellen Ripley. Grey DeLisle is awesome, but I cannot see her as Ellen Ripley. Yeah, Lambert, I think, had the most savage death, especially because they cut away, but also leave enough imagery to work with. Lambert gets, I believe that she is, like, violated to death. The worst kill, I would definitely say, goes to Firefly. The guy who voices Firefly is, like, walking around, and we don't see him die on screen. He gets picked up by the alien, and yeah, it's a cool reveal, but we never see what happens to him, and that one also felt kind of like a cop-out, but yeah, I know it's all about the reveal of how big and scary the monster is, but yeah. Basically, Alien, it's a survival horror movie. The alien's picking them off one by one. All the characters slowly die until Ellen Ripley is the last woman standing. Ellen Ripley rigs the ship to blow up, manages to escape, only for us to get our twist. Dun dun dun, the alien is on the escape shuttle with her. And a lot of people question what it was doing. I believe it was sleeping. It's like in the corner and we see its arm fall down, and for some reason doesn't jump Ripley right then and there. I think the alien was kind of asleep. It just like dozed off in the cargo hold there, and it was also blending in with the wall, which made it creepier, kind of like an insect. But yeah, Ellen realizes she's still trapped with the alien xenomorph monster, gets in her underwear, she's completely vulnerable around it, and she gets in that spacesuit, and we finally get Ellen Ripley outsmarting the monster by ejecting it into space. And it is kind of funny, you can tell it's a guy in a suit through this effect, but yeah, it does look pretty cool. The aliens ejected out of the shuttle, Ellen Ripley barely shuts the door on it, and then incinerates it. However, Romulus would retcon that it was not actually dead, and yeah, Ellen Ripley barely survived and came out on top as a badass final girl. The first movie is pretty good. I really like its creepy atmosphere. The feeling of loneliness and being in the dark with a monster is definitely what elevated it as a horror classic, and the xenomorph being kept shadowed and mysterious is definitely what made it iconic because we don't know what it is. It's a cosmic horror monster. R.I.P. for the first xenomorph creature actor. Yeah, I heard he passed away. Really liked him. Bolaji Badejo played the xenomorph. I heard he was also one of the predators. In the extended cut, they're actually all in a cocoon in the ventilation system, which Ripley does not learn from the first time that it was not a good idea to go in there. Yeah, we do see Firefly and Captain Dallas were dragged off by the xenomorph, and there was a deleted scene where they were being transformed into alien eggs or like being converted through a metamorphosis or something. It does look pretty gross, and it has the iconic line, "Please kill me," before aliens brought it back. But yeah, Ripley like mercy kills Dallas and Firefly before they're turned into eggs. It was retconned later, and the future films kind of got rid of that idea of cocooning human beings into more eggs. Literally, when me and my friends all watched that scene, we couldn't tell if that was a pipe or the alien's head. yeah, that was a funny scene. Ian Holm, who played Ash, also played the White Knight in 1998, Alice Through the Looking Glass, Chef Skinner in Ratatouille, and Zera in Jesus of Nazareth. He was also Bilbo Baggins in Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movies, and he was in The Fifth Element. Ian Holm's a great actor. He went on to do a lot of things. I think all the actors in here went on to do a lot of great things. Sigourney Weaver especially, this was her breakout role. So I do think the first movie is good. It is a solid horror movie. It is scary. It is creepy. It is eerie. The xenomorph being more mysterious in this film actually helped solidify it as a more cosmic threat compared to the future sequels where it is a full-blown creature feature style movie. But here, I still think it's good. Yeah, it is still good. It's not my favorite Alien movie. We're getting to that one next, but it is still a horror classic. Yo, hey, V Scorpio, have you seen the MK Alien? Yeah, I have. I'm trying to find any Power Ranger actors who were in the Alien movies. Probably not a bunch. It might be in the series. But now, let's get to the one you all want to talk about, the sequel, James Cameron's Aliens. Yep, here it is. And I am somebody who thinks Aliens is better than the first movie. It's going on Ultimate Lifeform and might be our first place winner. Yeah, was there really any doubt? This was the sequel that really pushed the envelope. If Alien 1 was a masterpiece, then this was a badass action movie horror experience. It's like T1 and T2. Most favorite is either Alien or Aliens, lol. First choice, one now. There's many titles is relevant to the plot. I see the xenomorph wasn't Dead by Daylight. Okay, he did get a pack in there. Aliens is definitely the GOAT. Fully agree. Now, there are two kinds of Alien fans. You either love Ridley Scott's first movie or James Cameron's sequel, Aliens. I am a much bigger fan of Aliens. This movie is a lot more action-packed, and instead of one alien, there's now an army. Yep, an entire armada of xenomorphs. There's now thousands of these things, and they have conquered an entire planet. Sorry, just checking the comments. Seeing anyone said, like with the Terminator movies, the first two are definitely the best. Absolutely. Have you played any of the Alien arcade games? No, I have not. Honestly, I played Alien Isolation. That one really creeped me out. Alright, so if Alien 1 was scary, this one was pretty much all out war and horrifying. Ellen Ripley is found in space. Her escape pod is picked up by the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, and they question her on the xenomorph. They, for some reason, don't believe her, but we find out this is actually part of a ploy to bring her onto a mission. We meet the new characters. Ripley needs to help Weyland-Yutani clear out the xenomorph monsters that have conquered this colony planet, and seemingly the colonists have all disappeared and there's no answers as to where they went. They believe Ellen Ripley's story about the xenomorph is repeating, and they need her help basically studying the creatures and trying to purge them all. Ripley is recruited by Carter Burke and the iconic Space Marines. We meet all the Space Marines here: Vasquez, Gorman, what was his name? Hicks. Yeah, Hicks was his name, and Hudson, played by sorry, trying to remember his name. I know Michael Biehn is in the movie. Yeah, trying to remember the other guy. The guy who got killed by the Terminator, Alien, and Predator. Yeah, Bill Paxton, that was his name, yeah. Bill Paxton, Michael Biehn, we meet Vasquez, Gorman, all the cool Space Marines, and it does kind of repeat some of the same plot points of Alien 1. For the first half of the movie, they're introducing you to the horror movie characters. The Space Marines are actually built up as ultimate badass warriors. They're highly trained, fully capable, and competent soldiers who can handle anything. And then it makes things all the more dramatic when they confront the xenomorphs, who are the most dangerous aliens in the universe, and finally start killing the Marines. We get attached to the characters, watch them bond, learn their character chemistry. The characters actually get a lot more fulfilling arcs compared to the Nostromo crew. We get attached to them more, see their dynamics. Ripley finds a lost little girl, Newt, and it leads to that great mother-daughter relationship they had. Ripley's actual daughter tragically died because she was frozen for 100 years, and there is a time skip. The aliens are back, and now they're infecting this colony. They're face-hugging new colonists. The colonists have disappeared and have been taken to the Hive, and this colony went out of contact with Weyland-Yutani, so they need the Space Marines and Ripley to investigate it and purge those xenomorphs. However, there's more to this than we think. I wouldn't say that there was too much action, even though they fill in a way to where there's not too much going on screen, and you're more likely watching it through the eyes of Ripley on the monitors. Yeah, you are. Michael Biehn, yeah, he's in this. He's Corporal Hicks. And he was Vandy in Predator Killer of Killers, Ian in I Walking Dead Soldiers, and Solid Snake in Metal Gear. He was also Kyle Reese in the Terminator movies, and he was also Rex in Far Cry Blood Dragon. Michael Biehn is really cool. That's right, the human villain is Axel Foley's friend from Detroit. Yeah. Sergeant Rex Power Colt in Far Cry 3. Yeah, Blood Dragon. Best part of Aliens is that you don't really have to watch the first movie to understand what this movie delivers. Exactly, the Aliens, at least the first 4, were more or less standalone movies. They did not overload you with a ton of continuity. You don't need to know too much, because this is the movie that kind of dives into the lore of the xenomorph. We learned that the Weyland-Yutani company was, surprise, actually studying the xenomorphs, and the colonists got too close and underestimated them. The eggs all hatched and took over people. The facehuggers are like in these tubes in a science lab. They were being looked at, and they actually are still trying to capture an alien for study. Carter Burke is actually the plant. Oh, and how could I forget? We meet Lance Henriksen as Bishop, the first good android in the series. Bishop is really cool, and Lance Henriksen is a total badass in this film. He's smart, cold, calculating, and actually proves to be a nice guy. Bishop is low-key kind of the Data of the team from Star Trek. He's a hyper-intelligent android, can do things they can't, and he and Ripley kind of have a enemies to friends kind of story arc, which is very likable. All the cast in this are all very likable, except for Burke, of course, because he's the twist villain, but yeah. Sam Rockwell said in a DVD extra that Bill Paxton's freakouts in this movie were his inspirations for his character in Galaxy Quest. Yeah, that is pretty funny. We would eventually even get an Alien game based off of some different Marines called Alien Colonial Marines in 2013. Unfortunately, the game is absolute trash. She was actually pissed when he didn't get a role in Alien 3. Yeah, Newt was? You said she, so I assume that's who you're talking about. Bill Paxton, who played Private William Hudson, also Detective Jerry Lambert in Predator 2. Yeah, he was in that Dinky Winks and Spy Kids 2. Billy DeLuca in Tales of the Crypt episode, People Who Live in Brass Harrises. John Garrett in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah, we lost Bill Paxton too. For people who had watched the first movie, you couldn't help... Sorry, I got a life alert thing. Yeah, don't worry, we're not invaded by aliens. My life alert thing just went off. John Garrett. For people who had watched the first movie, you couldn't help but get the same deja vu as Ripley when she realizes that Bishop is an android. Yeah, Bishop is actually a robot, but he turns out to be a nice guy robot, but we don't find that out till the end of the movie. Bishop is very much open about being a machine, and he also lampoons the Ash model robots as being defective, so yeah. Basically, we're led to believe Bishop is a bad guy, but nope, he's actually a loyal friend, and he does help save the day. Burke, who seemed like a nice guy, is actually the twist villain. He tries to kill Ripley and Newt by impregnating them with face huggers to silence them and kill the Marines. However, they catch on to him, and basically this whole mission goes to complete hell. They try to kill the aliens. The aliens are super strong, super terrifying, super vicious, and these once professional Marines are now scared shitless by the monsters. If you thought one xenomorph was terrifying, don't worry, this one has an army. The xenomorphs are all over the place, and once they find out that humans are trying to come and kill them, they immediately declare war and try to exterminate them all, and the xenomorphs prove very deadly, very threatening, and murder all the characters we got attached to. The Sarge dies, a lot of Marines die, a lot of the important characters we grow to like and go through character development, all of them start getting picked off one by one. Carter Burke gets his comeuppance when the xenomorph ambush him when he tries to take the only escape tunnel, but nope, they're surrounded. Paul Reiser, who played Carter Burke, also played Dr. Sam Owens in Stranger Things, and the legend in The Boys. His son played a younger John Garrett in the time travel arc in the final season. I got deja vu from that alert right there. Yeah, sorry, I don't know. Apparently there was a silver alert in my area. And Detective Jeffrey Friedman in Beverly Hills Cop 2. Yeah, Burke's actor's been in a lot of things. Lance Henriksen is easily my favorite character because I saw this guy on Mass Effect, and he's been in a bunch of these Alien and Predator movies, so yeah, he's definitely a face of the horror genre, I'll tell you what. Okay, so a lot of people don't like aliens because of the action. The xenomorphs start getting capped by pulsar guns and rifles. The aliens actually start dying and going down easily in this movie, but hey, that is kind of expected when you have a gun and characters who fight back, but yeah. I actually really like that they ramped up the action because the aliens are still just as threatening as ever because they're in a hive of these things and there's multiple aliens this time. And they're picking off all these competent badass characters all around. Like Vasquez dies in a heroic sacrifice, Gorman redeems himself and blows up one of the escape tunnels to kill the outnumbering xenomorphs. Hudson actually goes down, being dragged down the floorboards, which I found kind of weird, but apparently one of the Marines died and came back in a video game. Not sure who it was still. Angry Joe also teased who it was. Okay, so basically, once again, the characters getting picked off one by one, and Ellen Ripley decides to go back, and it's essentially Ripley facing her fears, Ripley rediscovering her humanity, forming attachment to these Marines, falling in love with Hicks, becoming a mother figure for Newt. Newt is kind of the daughter she always wanted to raise but never got to see again, and the xenomorphs are her PTSD, and basically she is confronting her former enemies, the people who terrorized her and traumatized her, and Ripley pretty much grows badass in this film, and this is the film which solidified her as one of the best final girls ever. Ripley takes the fight to the aliens. She goes into the hive, saves Newt, and discovers the alien queen. Yep, the alien queen is introduced in this movie, and she is utterly horrifying. They used an actual puppet and animatronic for this thing, and yeah, it still holds up. The queen looks very creepy, vicious, has that weird egg sac thing to crap out eggs, and they do show she is twice the size of the regular 10 feet tall xenomorphs. So yeah, this thing is pretty much a final boss. The alien queen chases after Ripley. They escape the blowing up planet. They decide to nuke the entire corporate industry and destroy the planet to get rid of the aliens. There is a time bomb placed in the reactor, and Ripley manages to save Newt, kill a bunch of aliens, and escape. However, this movie also kickstarts the double climax. Yeah, we get the double climax in this movie where it's not over yet. Yeah, just when you think the heroes made it off, they killed all the aliens and blew up their entire hive. Nope, the queen actually attached herself to the space shuttle and gives a final boss fight for Ellen Ripley, where she gets in that mecha and fights it, where we get the classic line, "Get away from her, you bitch!" Yeah, Ellen Ripley became an ultimate badass female hero in this scene. She uses the mecha because she uses her trucker skills from earlier to master its control, and Mecha Ripley fights the alien queen in a very vicious puppet fight where they both fall down a trap hole because Ellen Ripley plans to space the xenomorph again, but the queen is a much more competent fighter than the regular Xeno. The queen nearly kills Ripley, drags her with her out of an airlock, but nope, Ellen Ripley survives and the queen is shot off to space, where we presume she died, but Romulus might retcon that too. But yeah, she makes it out, and Ripley conquers her fears, gains Bishop's respect, saves actually a handful of characters this time. Michael Biehn survives, Newt survives, and Bishop actually survives, albeit half the man he used to be, and Ripley conquers her fears, finally killing the monsters for good. Until next sequel. But yeah, Aliens, it is a classic. This movie is really badass. It's fun, energetic, over the top. We now go from one monster to an army of monsters. A lot of great sets, a lot of kick-ass effects, very high tension, and very good storytelling because it is kind of a who can you trust and Ripley facing her fears type of story. Ripley trying to become normal and realizing that she has to face her fears and save her family because they're worth fighting for, that type of storytelling. And yeah, it still holds up well. This is easily my favorite. Exactly like Judgment Day, the sequel did everything a sequel should do and escalated all the great things from movie 1 into much more stronger golden material. Before Alien 3 retcons it. Yeah, you're all looking forward to that one. Sorry, catch up on comments. William Hope, who played Lieutenant Scott Gorman, also played Edward, Toby, Whiff, Bash, Rocky, and Doc, Manager, and Thomas and Friends, and Misty Island Rescue. He was also in Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, the remake, as the Russian guy. Sarah Hathaway in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. Well, it's like we were discussing earlier, the Nostromo crew were average Joes, these were Marines. Right, it made them much scarier because these were actual fighters who were cocky, arrogant, and believed they could take the Xenomorphs, only to quickly show you how tough the Xenomorphs really are because they pick apart these soldiers like nothing. What's even scarier is that they actually find a way to make it back to the Marine base too, such as the rescue plane scene. Yep, the buildup was so perfect and what followed next was pure cinema. Yeah, the aliens were awesome. Marshall Waits in Alien Isolation and Ultimate Carnage, vocal effects, and Ultimate Spider-Man video game. Before Aliens 3 retcons it, I wouldn't doubt the sequel to Romulus will just be the alien queen affecting a whole planet, and of course the heroes have to stop her and thus have a modern Aliens movie. Yeah, the Romulus was kind of a retread of the first film. Okay, Rico, Ross. Alright, pretty cool characters. Okay, so Aliens, it is an awesome sequel. It ramped up everything great about movie 1, and I would definitely say it outclassed it. Aliens is a cinematic masterpiece, a badass action movie, an ultra creepy horror movie, and an out-of-this-world sci-fi adventure. It is kick-ass, and it solidified a lot of the high bar that horror movies still fail to pass. Aliens is awesome, and this might be our #1 ultimate life form. Unfortunately, now it's time we get to the third one, Alien Cubed. Oh boy, now you're all looking forward to this one. Okay, I have watched Alien Cubed. It's actually Alien 3, but they put the 3 up like a MC Squared logo, so that's why I call it Alien Cubed. This one, going into, you have my sympathies. Yeah, I know, a lot of people might say this one belongs much lower, but there were actually some parts I liked in this movie, and that's mostly thanks to the extended cut, the assembly cut. I'm gonna say it, I actually like Aliens Cubed. Oh, you do, Light Jones? Okay. Al Matthews, who played Gurney Sergeant Apone, who also played Fire Chief in Superman 3. Why is it called Alien Cubed? Because they put the 3 like on top of the N, kind of like a squared or cubed in mathematics. It's to make it look clever. Alright, Alien Cubed is the first Aliens movie which dropped the quality. It is a step down compared to the first two. However, there are some moments that are cool, some that I liked, mostly the kills, but we are fully back to basics, and unfortunately, this is the one worst thing I will say about this movie. It's not that it's stupid, it's not that the CGI is god-awful, it's not that Ellen Ripley is kind of a side character in her own sequel, but what pissed me off most is Alien Cubed is kind of depressing. It's a very bleak, dark, grim, nihilistic dark fantasy movie. The Xenomorph is now a full-blown horror monster again, but we're back to one alien. Yeah, after the kick-ass movie Aliens, we're now back to one, the infamous dog alien. Well, depending on what cut you saw, there's a dog alien or a cow alien. Yeah, it's weird. Basically, this is a more primal, animalistic alien, and it's back. Ellen Ripley crash lands on this prison planet, and all her side characters died. Yeah, the opening of this movie is so god-awful that horror fans make fun of it and call it out all the time. Ellen Ripley's escape shuttle crashes, and all the survivors of Aliens except for Sigourney Weaver, they're all dead. Yep, Bishop dies, Hicks dies, and Newt died horribly. All of them are dead. Why? Because they couldn't get the actors to come back except for Lance Henriksen, who gets kind of a Stan Lee cameo twice. Aliens 3 is conflicting to me. There's some things I liked and some things I don't. Fully agree, Shadowing, fully agree. Even though Alien Cubed was a step down from the two Aliens I like, how it still tries to go back to its roots reminiscent of Alien, it's not like it stopped feeling like Alien, as it still was suspenseful. Yeah, that's why I put it up over Game Over, man. There are some good things in this movie. There are things I like. However, there's a lot of drawbacks. We'll get the negatives out of the way first. Okay, one, the movie is very depressing. It is a very bleak, grim, and honestly dark and tragic movie, which doesn't make it fun. It's kind of like Jackie Earle Haley's Nightmare on Elm Street that way. The tone is so dark, depressing, and wants to be serious that it's not fun. The first two movies had fun. Yeah, they were also dark, but Ripley lands in a prison planet populated by a bunch of rapists, murderers, and the most evil deviants ever. The main characters are a bunch of convicts. Ripley's on a prison planet, and she's kind of a guest there. This prison planet operates on the honor system. Yeah, already sounds really stupid. And basically, all the characters got their heads shaved because there's a lice problem, and kudos to Sigourney Weaver actually going bald for this movie, but the problem is these characters are very hard to remember. They all look the friggin' same. Captain Cutter from Are You Afraid of the Dark is one of the side characters, and Pete Postlethwaite is the only likable guy working on the prison. Unfortunately, he's the first to die, so yeah. I actually like Pete Postlethwaite's character. It's like, you ever notice he always plays like the most nicest and cool guy in these lame horror sequels? Yeah, Pete Postlethwaite is like this nice, caring doctor. He and Ripley actually have a cute romance together, but spoilers, he's the most developed character and he gets killed. The xenomorph breaks in and he's like one of the first deaths in the movie. Yeah, there was that guy who got shredded by the tunnel fan, but yeah. There's an alien who followed them, and Ripley believes this alien was birthed from Newt. We find out, no, it wasn't. It was like a face hugger that got on board their ship. Apparently 2 face huggers made it on, and yeah, it impregnated either a dog or a cow, depending on which cut you saw. Basically an animal, so now this is a more animalistic, barbaric xenomorph, which is almost cool, but it's a lot less intelligent compared to the previous monsters. At least the title takes the S from Aliens for Alien 3 because there's one alien unlike Anaconda 3. It was my weakest one till Dodge's Rotten Fruit Romulus, but I didn't hate it. Okay. Yeah, I didn't hate this one. There are parts I like. The xenomorph kills are very cool, very visceral. We have that iconic scene of the xenomorph's mouth being right next to Ripley's face. She's crying, and you think the alien's gonna take a bite out of her, but then, no, it suddenly backs off. My problem is, the characters, I do not remember most of them. I know Captain Cutter because he's like the only black guy in the prison. And I know Pete Postlethwaite because he's the only character I actually bonded with until he died. The warden is this completely incompetent dumbass who says, oh, there's no such thing as monsters, there's no aliens running around, and as you can predict, he gets his karmic death. He gets his comeuppance where, I like that he's calling Ripley crazy and having her taken away, and then the xenomorph comes down from the world's biggest vent shaft and takes him up and shreds him. That death, actually pretty funny, not gonna lie. He's like bragging, there's no monster, then the monster jumps him. We lost all the characters from Aliens. Yeah, they all die. The atmosphere fits the movie, though. Well, it's not very fun seeing Ripley almost get beaten and raped by convicts. Yeah, what a shock. The honor system doesn't work. Convicts, try to rape Ripley, but Captain Cutter saves her. He, pulls some Matrix moves out of nowhere and beats up the rapists. We don't get really attached to the characters. And unfortunately, there's a lot of focus on these convicts, and I can't remember half of them, and pretty much all of them end up cannon fodder for the xenomorph anyway. The xenomorph does what it does best. It picks them off all one by one. One of the rapist guys actually does have a redemption arc. He sacrifices himself to trap the xenomorph in a prison cell. One of the convicts goes crazy and worships the alien as his god or something. It's an interesting plot point, but again, it goes nowhere and just exists to make the xenomorph plot go forward. He releases it, and Big Shaka kills him. We lost all the characters from Aliens, and here's when they decided to do a movie license game instead of the first 2 Alien movies. Though the scariest part of that is it was made by LJN. The nerds' arch enemies. The only thing I would have changed is literally just put the dog chestburster scene in the director's cut where the ox was. Charles S. Dutton, who played Leonard Dillon, also played Dom in The Cat's Eyes, Cookie, and Scooby-Doo WrestleMania Mystery. Captain Cutter in Are You Afraid of the Dark? Yeah, that's his name. Yeah, Captain Cutter from Are You Afraid of the Dark is in this. Wasn't Patrick Herbert in this? Probably, but all the guys have, bald heads, so it's very hard to tell them apart. Charles Dance, who also played Jonathan Clemens, also played, whatever. Emperor Imiravar Emis from The Witcher 3. Wild Hunt. Okay, so there are good points in this movie. Ellen Ripley is, once again, totally badass in this. Sigourney Weaver takes absolute charge. Her and Captain Cutter easily have the best interactions next to her dead love interest. They show you a very visceral shot of Newt being killed, and yeah, they do confirm the little girl died off screen. And I do like Lance Henriksen. He does come back. He cameos as Bishop, a dying android, and has this heartfelt goodbye to Ripley. However, we find out the worst part. Ripley has been impregnated by a xenomorph. Yeah, apparently somehow a chestburster got her. We're led to believe it got one of her friends, but nope, it was her. And she's impregnated by a xenomorph baby, and apparently it takes days to actually hatch. Yeah, this is where we started the bullcrap of the xenomorph evolution. Ripley has some major plot armor in this movie. Because she's impregnated by a xenomorph, the one that's on the loose killing people does not ever go for her. Yeah, it doesn't kill her because it can sense its own kind within her, which I did kind of like. That actually made sense. But it's killing a bunch of really expendable characters you don't really get attached to, so not too many dramatic stakes, and we know Ripley's gonna probably make it to the end at least, but yeah, Ripley has a xenomorph baby in her, and she's trying to help the convicts murder this creature as like her final mission. I do like the xenomorph POV shots. We see the xenomorph has like this wide angle lens orange vision as it's chasing these people. I like the maze hunt they go through. The prison planet is like this huge labyrinth, and they're luring the xenomorph away, locking it out, trying to lead it into a death trap. The xenomorph starts picking up on this, so it is very threatening still. A lot of cool shots, a lot of intense action. The xenomorph is still very threatening, though they do use some dodgy CGI in scenes and very bad green screen in others. That does kind of take you out of it. So Captain Cutter gets his redemption arc. He lures it to a smelting pit to kill the xenomorph, and they finally get rid of it, but dun dun dun, Wayland shows up. Yeah, Wayland, as in the Weyland-Yutani co-CEO, played by Lance Henriksen, and it is very cool to see him. He's like the only guy from Aliens who came back. We find out the Bishop androids were modeled off of him, which is a pretty cool aspect. Yeah, Wayland shows up in this movie, and he reveals that he wants to take Ripley back, and they can help remove the xenomorph from her and save her life. But Ripley sees past his BS, and sacrifices herself to get rid of the last xenomorph. Spoilers, this is not the last xenomorph, and it does not kill Ripley or the xenomorph. Ripley's actually impregnated by an alien queen, and she realizes that Wayland is going to use it to, once again, chase his stupid corporate schemes of making money off the aliens, and we get that infamously bad green screen shot of Ripley falling into the lava pit. Apparently it takes a few minutes for her to fall into the smelting chamber. The chest burster bursts out of Ripley, but she grabs it and holds it down with the last of her strength, and Ripley and the alien queen die. Until next movie where they're cloned and brought back to life. But yeah, it ends with Ripley dying, and that's why a lot of people do not like this movie. The final girl gets killed off, and she was kind of the only character you really care about. Lance Henriksen loses everything, they clear the prison, and we end on this very bizarre message that she made the ultimate sacrifice and brought good even in a dark, hopeless world, and yeah, you're gonna walk out of the theater very bummed and depressed. Another retcon for a retcon. Yep, Shadowlink. So, I do not like that they killed off Ellen Ripley. This always kind of depressed me. I was actually glad Resurrection resurrected her. The alien is very threatening. There is cool action scenes. A lot of violent and brutal death, which is very fun. The prison set is very cool. Very distinct. I love the labyrinth feel. There is a sense of dark fairy tales and hellish imagery, which is very cool. There are parts I do like about this movie. Pete Postlethwaite and Captain Cutter are the only characters you like in the film, outside of Ripley, of course, but The intro to this day is still bad, just killing off all of the survivors of the Aliens film, having Ripley die at the end, and having a very interchangeable cast that you're not attached to kind of weakened it and dragged it down. I have seen far worse sequels. I would say this is kind of like a Halloween 5, but for the Alien saga. There are parts that are good, some scenes that really rock, but a lot of dumbass retconning, very depressing moments, and cheesy effects. Ripley's death easily being the most polarizing part of this film, but don't worry, they'll bring her back to life. Alien 3 is a weak movie. I'm still putting it on You Have My Sympathies. Catch up on comments. Danny Webb, who also played Robert Morse, also played Pablo Picasso on the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, and John Ripper in Pennyworth. Not to worry, because Patrick Herbert also dies and gets a mouth tongue through his head. It was said to be a queen alien. Okay, that's right, it was. Yeah, Gallic, that was the crazy guy's name. Alright, so Alien Cubed... It is not a good movie. I would put it on Bronze Skull territory if I'm being honest, because it's also not too bad. I've seen far worse sequels, but very dark, depressing, and unfun is the terms I would use on why it's not a good film. I'm putting it on You Have My Sympathies. This one you could easily skip, unless you really want to see Resurrection. And speaking of which, time to get to the fourth one. Alien Resurrection. After this movie went too dark and depressing, Resurrection went for more campy, over-the-top gore fest. However, that's also kind of 1 point in its favor. Alright, let's do it. Alien Resurrection, aka the Clone Saga one. Ellen Ripley is alive! How? Well, apparently they were able to get her DNA from the prison, and cloned Ripley with the alien queen baby inside of her so they can extract the queen. However, the cloning process goes wrong and the alien queen and Ripley exchange DNA. So now there's part xenomorph and part human DNA in the other. They clone Ripley perfectly. It took several attempts to get it right though. They clone Ripley and managed to get their alien queen to finally weaponize her for military experiments. So, where do I want to put Resurrection? Honestly, I actually like this one way more than Alien 3. This one, I might have to put on Stay Frosty. Yeah, this one, a million times better than Alien Cubed, but also has its own amount of flaws and hilarious meme-worthy jokes. Was Aliens 4 so hard to put instead of just Resurrection? Yeah, this one stars Winona Ryder. Winona Ryder plays the android girl. Alright, so Resurrection, written by Joss Whedon of all creators, is a very peculiar entry in this saga. Ripley is back, and so is the alien queen. They're held on a military facility science lab, where they're running experiments on the xenomorphs. Yep, the company, Weyland-Yutani, was bought out by Walmart. Yeah, seriously, Walmart bought out Weyland-Yutani, and the military got access to studying the xenomorphs, where, of course, everything goes horribly wrong, the xenomorphs escape, and try to kill a whole bunch of people again. However, Sigourney Weaver's back as Ripley, and is now this badass, no-nonsense Sarah Connor-like knockoff. We meet anti-hero Ripley, who I do really like. And she meets these new group of characters where they get into a survival horror adventure together. We meet the space pirates, Ron Perlman, Winona Ryder, the wheelchair guy, and a whole bunch of other expendable idiots that you know are cannon fodder for the Xenos. Still a better Resurrection than Halloween Resurrection? Absolutely. Ellen Ripley, officially designated as Ripley 8. But yeah, I liked Alien Resurrection fine, despite some weird WTF moments. Yeah, this one has the infamous human-alien hybrid monster. Yeah, I know you're all looking forward to that, where they try to merge the human and alien DNA. The alien queen is actually pregnant with a whole new species of alien, the hybrid monster, the newborn. Also, Brad Dourif's in this movie, and he's really weird. Alright, so the short story is the space pirates are abducting test subjects for the military, doing it like in secret, incognito, doing deals with the military. They're giving them these people from cryopods to implant with xenomorphs, and they're running their experiments on the final test stages of how to train your own xenomorph. Brad Dourif plays like this really creepy scientist. There's also the twist villain, I use that in quotes, Dr. Wren, who's actually a pretty fine villain, honestly. I think her name was Cal. Winona Ryder plays a good android who tries to assassinate Clone Ripley and sabotage the project because she realizes that the xenomorphs are a danger. They never tell us who she's working for, but apparently she was programmed to end the xenomorphs because they're too dangerous to be kept alive, and she proves to be right because the xenomorphs escape captivity. Yeah, Winona Ryder's in this. She was on Edward Scissorhands as Lydia from Beetlejuice. Both Beetlejuice movies. And she was on Frankenweenie. I did not know that. Yeah, Winona Ryder's in this, and she plays like a sexy robot girl, and this one does have the weird lesbian undertones. Like, Ripley and Cal have this very bizarre dynamic with each other. Ron Perlman is in this movie, and I actually found him pretty hilarious, and Vreese, the wheelchair guy, he was actually pretty funny too. It's like, what, you want to take the chair? He's like getting in through like the metal detector and escorting their hidden weapons through his chair. Pretty funny stuff. So there's a lot of dark comedy in this, and you could really tell it was a Joss Whedon film. A lot of snarky moments, a lot of those Whedonisms and one-liners. The xenomorphs are both animatronic but also CGI, and that is the worst thing I have to say about this movie. The CGI has very much aged poorly. Anytime they use a digital shot, you can tell. That grenade scene where the general throws a grenade in an escape pod and it's rolling down the shaft, yeah, you could really tell. If Resurrection came out today, Weyland Yutani would have been bought out by Disney. Lol, yeah. Yeah, Ron Perlman's in this movie. Slade from Teen Titans, the good one. And Clayface from Batman the Animated Series. He was also Hellboy. Yeah, Ron Perlman's in this, and he's actually pretty funny. He's like this scuzzy Marine guy who slowly becomes nicer and starts hanging out with the heroes. Yeah, so there's a lot of stupid character moments in this too. Like, if you saw Nostalgia Critics review, the infamous one where the black guy, who's good at shooting things like Deadshot style, can't shoot an alien that's point blank in front of him. That scene is still stupid. He gets like splattered by acid blood after they finally kill it, and very needlessly sacrifices himself. Like, the xenomorph is like holding on to him and dragging him and Vreese down, and Vreese can't hold on to them and they might fall, but would the fall really kill you? You're like falling into a pool of water, and yeah, the xenomorph, he could just kick this thing off his foot, but I guess he was paralyzed by the acid or something. So the black guy, of course, needlessly sacrifices himself and dies. It's a really stupid and contrived scene, and they drag it out to try and make you feel sympathy for this guy, but like, dude, just slide your foot. Just, like, motion your foot. Yeah, he just goes down with the xenomorph. Cal turns out to be an android, and she's good. And we meet a lot of wackier characters. There's, like, the fanboy marine guy. There's the gravelly voiced pirate guy. Johnner, I believe was his name, Ron Perlman's character. He's like this very douchey marine guy, always has a snarky quip or comment. Vreese is very funny. The captain's girlfriend, we did not get to know that well, and she dies being drowned horribly by xenomorphs. That seems actually pretty cool, minus the xenomorph swimming effects. That was weird. Boo, I'm a ghost. Hey, Blacksmith Orange. You missed it. We talked about the two good Alien movies, Alien 1 and Aliens, which are both the ultimate life form. Alien Cubed, which you have my sympathies. Do not review that sequel, Blacksmith. And we're on Resurrection, the fourth one, and last to star Sigourney Weaver. So, Sigourney Weaver's badass in this movie. I really like that basketball scene. I liked how she kicks butt. She is not afraid of the xenomorphs this time, and she undergoes an existential crisis and a lot of character development. Basically, Ripley finds out she's a clone and has to find herself. She ultimately realizes that she wants to help save these people, befriends them, and that the aliens are not her kind despite mixing DNA together. Dominique Pinnon as Dom Vries, also played in French movies. Yeah, the movie was directed by a French guy. Who are you expecting, Santa Claus? Yeah, he is hilarious. Like Lala, Domrosa, Du Lavo, Le Bon. Okay, don't know those French movies, guy. My Hero Academia made Mina Ashido, inspiration from the Alien movies. Okay, so I like Resurrection because it does repeat a lot from the first two movies, but it's basically a dumb, fun survival horror movie. It is campy, it is over the top, and there's a lot of focus on the action, but it's pretty fun. The characters are actually pretty unique in this movie. A lot of love-to-hate villains. Brad Dourif and Dr. Wren are actually pretty cool villains, I would say. They got ultra-satisfying karmic deaths. The cast is very likable. They have a fun chemistry. Winona Ryder and Ripley, the lesbian moments are very weird and out there, but we do see they actually bring out the best in each other. Vries and John are a very fun comedy duo. The xenomorphs are threatening in this film. We do see them violently throttle Marines. I love that escape pod scene where it drags one guy down trying to run away and pretty much blenders him to death. And the alien queen is actually a animatronic. They did use a lot of practical effects in this movie. Yes, there are bad CGI shots here and there, but when the aliens are actually physically interacting with people and there's a practical monster on screen, it is very impressive. So it turns out the aliens don't want to kill Ripley. Ripley is one of them. They've been holding back on fighting her and bring her into the nest of the alien queen because the alien queen is giving birth to the hybrid. Yeah, we're finally talking about it, the newborn. This has the infamous human-alien hybrid monster. If you don't know, it's this big white skeleton with alien appendages, and it actually doesn't look half bad. It looks really cool, very creepy. It's got like this skull face, but the xenomorph head and like the claws, and it walks around like a feral monster. The hybrid monster has like very creepy mood swings. Like at first it's an innocent little baby, then it's a violent child throwing a tantrum, which made it very unpredictable. Yeah, I actually do think the hybrid monster was a cool concept. Unfortunately, it's like introduced in the final act, and there isn't much time to get acquainted with it or explore it. Brad Dourif like gives a monologue kind of introducing this thing, and the hybrid monster, once it kills the alien queen, pretty much ending the xenomorphs as a threat. But yeah, the monster anticlimactically claws the alien queen to death, and it wants Ripley to be its mother. And Ripley at first feels for it, but decides no, she wants to join the humans, and she pretty much rejects this thing. She runs away while it murders Brad Dourif, and tries to escape. They manage to make it to the pirate ship on time before crashing the lab ship into a giant asteroid or like a moon or something. Yeah, the ship is like falling out of the sky because no one's controlling it, and all the xenomorphs die, except we get the double climax. When they made it aboard the pirate ship, it turned out the newborn followed its mommy, and the newborn almost kills Winona Ryder. It crushes that Marine guy's skull like a grape. That was a pretty hardcore R-rated kill. Dr. Wren gets his comeuppance. He's murdered by a chest burster. It kills him. They hilariously fire at him without damaging their ship somehow. Yeah, all the bad guys die, and the newborn is the final boss, and we get the coolest scene ever. Ripley pretends to be a caring mother towards it, but uses her acid blood to melt a hole in the wall, which sucks out the newborn monster in this violently graphic death. Michael Wincott as Captain Frank Elgin also played Guy of Gisborne in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I'll have to see that again. And Antler Hoist in Nope and Old Bill in Westworld. It would have been to see the hybrid around the halfway point or sooner. Yeah, exactly. The hybrid should have showed up way earlier. I think Ripley was supposed to be kind of a hybrid monster like it, and that's what kind of alluded to this thing, but they wait way too late, and the monster is essentially a final boss. Granted, I do think the hybrid actually looks cool because they actually use practical effects to build it. So yeah, the hybrid is really there, really interacting with everyone. It actually does score a pretty high kill count. It eats Brad Dourif. It kills the alien queen, rejecting it as the mother and wants Ripley. It crushes that marine guy's skull like a friggin' grape, so that was pretty hardcore, and it almost murders Winona Ryder, but it falls for Ripley pretending to care, and it gets that really cool death of explosive decompression. The monster gets sucked out of like a window, and it's destroying its body as space is sucking it out, and we see it turn into a skull and is CGI'd to death. It actually looks pretty cool. I love this thing's kill. That part was a very kick-ass climax, which is why I give it some points. They managed to kill it. A handful of characters survived. Don't worry, Ron Perlman made it. Vreese, the wheelchair guy, made it. And Winona Ryder, the android, made it. And she and Ripley become best friends. And they made it back to Earth, hopefully living a happily ever after. Unless you saw that alternate ending where the Earth was destroyed. But yeah. And that's Resurrection. I would say it ended on a much happier note, and honestly, I actually kind of liked it more for that, because Resurrection feels like a huge apology for Alien Cubed. Alien Cubed was so dark, dour, and depressing. Resurrection was just campy, goofy, gory fun, almost like an Evil Dead movie at times. Some people hate it for that. The worst thing I have against this film is there are weird moments, and the CGI has very much dated, but honestly, I actually kind of liked it because it's a dumb, fun survival horror story. Gary Durdane as Christie also played Crispus Allen in Gotham Knight, Dash DeMont in Kim Possible, and Ziggy in Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. I also know the bad guy Top Dollar from The Crow is in this movie. He played like the space pirate captain. They build him up like he's gonna be important, but no, he's punk killed by xenomorphs. Yeah, Top Dollar was in this movie. That kind of surprised me. I actually thought Resurrection had its fun moments. It does have some weird stuff and really stupid stuff. Nostalgia Critic kind of poked fun of all the bad stuff in this, but honestly, it's pretty much stupid fun. I'd consider it kind of like a Friday the 13th sequel. Yeah, it's stupid, but it's a very enjoyable stupid. The aliens are very creepy. The newborn is an interesting concept, and Sigourney Weaver actually does a good acting job in this, and they actually try to give the characters character arcs, so you care about them a lot more than the expendable prisoners in the last film. And it ends on Ripley finally gaining a happily ever after, so that was very much appreciated. You know, this one I might put smack in the middle on Stay Frosty. Had some good moments, but yeah, there are flaws. But hey, still better than Halloween Resurrection. Maybe Ripley would meet Ash Williams in the alternate ending, since both of them ended in a post-apocalyptic world. Yeah, Ash slept too long. Raymond Cruz, yeah, that was his name. Like, his name was just Stefano. Dourif's monologue was so weird when I first saw it, I couldn't even tell who was talking. Yeah, Brad Dourif was, like, cocooned, and you don't see him at first until, like, a few seconds. Yeah, he's giving, like, a monologue explaining the plot. J.E. Freeman as Dr. Mason Wren. Yeah, he was actually pretty cool. I liked him as a villain. Resurrection, Stay Frosty. I'll put it right in the middle. It is not a good movie, but pretty much a fun film because it's just goofy, gory fun with the xenomorphs. This one I actually do respect a lot more, especially approaching these other films. Alright, so Resurrection made it in the middle, so we gotta go to the next one, which, not the prequels yet, but Alien vs. Predator. Yep, the crossover that rivaled Freddy vs. Jason. Unfortunately, it suffered the dreaded PG-13 rating. So, points off for that, but AVP, I might put on to not bad for a human. Yep, finally at the kick-ass crossover and Paul W.S. Anderson's greatest movie next to Mortal Kombat. Yeah, believe it or not, Paul W.S. Anderson once made horror movies that didn't suck before Resident Evil ruined him. Yep, we get the ultimate fight over our galaxy, aliens versus predators. Kim Flowers as Sabra Hillard also played Suki Rodriguez in Help. Okay, yeah, she was pretty hot. Alright, so Alien vs. Predator. Basically, we follow a group of explorers who found a lost pyramid underneath the Arctic. However, it turns out this pyramid is actually a video game level for predators to hunt the ultimate enemy, the xenomorphs. Yep, thousands of years ago, the Predators once conquered and ruled our planet as gods, and they convinced this ancient civilization to be a part of their games and build them a pyramid, which was sort of a fighting game arena to fight xenomorphs. Xenomorphs were once bred by ancient civilizations, and the predators would sacrifice people to give birth to the aliens and hunt them for sport. And unfortunately, the explorers come smack in the middle of this war zone, uncovering this mysterious pyramid and accidentally awakening the evil alien queen. But predators also land on this planet, and it leads to the ultimate fight, a three-way war between humans, aliens, and predators. I liked AVP quite a bit, liked how they gave the lore to the xenomorphs and the predators and the action. Certain characters and climax was pretty awesome. Yeah, this one was actually pretty fun. Not bad for a human. So this made it higher up on my Predator ranking. This one I will put on to basically the A tier. I do like it, but there's some stuff that could have been improved. Specifically, the human characters. The humans are pretty much expendable idiots. Yeah, Paul W.S. Anderson really has a bad habit of writing flat, one-note characters who are basically cannon fodder for the cool monsters. Resident Evil definitely had a part in this. Yeah, we meet Alexa, played by Sonya Lethane. She's actually a pretty kick-ass final girl. I do like Alexa. Everyone else pretty much just exists. Lance Henriksen has a cameo in this movie. Well, actually he does have a major role in this movie, but he ends up getting killed halfway through. Lance Henriksen is Old Man Wayland. He's exploring the pyramid and finding out aliens and predators exist. Lance Henriksen and Alexa go down to this pyramid. They have a group of soldiers who all get horribly and graphically murdered by either the xenomorphs or the predators. And I will say Paul W.S. Anderson clearly loved both these franchises because there's an equal amount of love for the predators being cool and kick-ass and the aliens being cool and kick-ass. The xenomorphs are full-blown scary. They're treated as these otherworldly demons of the night. Get a lot of creepy, shadowy shots. I love the fight scenes between the aliens and predators because, of course, that's what the movie's all about. Well, I see the lore that the Predators brought eggs of xenomorphs to make them. Yeah, because the Predators are the space explorers. They do kind of hint at Earth's destruction. Perlman keeps talking about what a shithole Earth is. Yeah, that was true, but I thought that was just him being an ass. Sydney, Sid Shaw, and Brown Sugar. I'm going to go on and say it. I like both the Alien vs. Predator movies. Okay, like Jones, I have some stuff to say about Requiem, but I did not think it was as bad as everyone made it out to be. The first Alien vs. Predator, basically a deathmatch, a survival horror. Lots of callbacks, lore building, world building, and mythology gags of both the Predator and Alien worlds. We see the Predators being cool, showing off their skills. We see the Xenomorphs being very creepy, shadowy, serpent-like monsters. The Xenomorphs are a lot more animalistic in this movie. We are judging it as an Aliens film, so I will say the Queen is easily awesome. The Alien Queen is more or less the true final boss of this film, and the overarching villain, so they definitely did her justice. The worst thing I have to say about this movie is a lot of the characters, the human ones, you do not care about. Alexa is the only interesting character in this. Everyone else, pretty much expendable red shirt. They're there just to die, be cannon fodder for the Xenomorphs or the Predators, the Yautja for you hardcore fans, and I will say the action's pretty cool. Very fun, very slick. A lot of the CGI has held up very well. A special mention going to the final fight between the Alien Queen, and yeah, that wrestling match between the Predator leader and the Xenomorph in the pyramid. That looks still really cool to this very day. Alexa sort of gets character development. She starts out as not wanting anything to do with this crazy mess, but gets involved and becomes the first human the Predator actually respects. Yeah, I know we all love Danny Glover, but here, Alexa and the last Predator actually team up because they realize the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and this was what pretty much made the movie. The final girl and the Predator work together to kill the Xenomorphs, and yeah, it is pretty awesome. A lot of kick-ass action, a lot of nightmarish imagery, and very high suspense. Of course, they blow up the pyramid, killing all the Xenomorphs, but haha, the Alien Queen survived for the double climax. Yeah, we get that final boss fight, and once again, kick-ass action. The Alien Queen is very good CGI in this movie. They do use practical effects. Paul W.S. Anderson actually did throw all the money at the aliens and Predators, and it definitely shows. Yeah, I absolutely love the Predator and the final girl teaming up. Yeah, that is the awesomest part. I was actually sad when Sebastian died. Oh, her friend who got taken in, and she had to mercy kill him, but that actually earned the Predator respect, so really cool scene. Yeah, he was like the only guy who talked to her, so of course you'd feel for him. Persons say both of them were better than the Predator remake and Prey. Was there a Predator remake? I know there was The Predator, but we all know that one sucked. Yeah, Lance Henriksen is in here. He's Old Man Wayland before Weyland-Yutani became a corporation, and Lance Henriksen also got to be the second man who was killed by a Terminator, Xenomorph, and Predator. Yeah, he and Bill Paxton both share that. The Predator murders him in this movie, though. We already saw him die by a Xenomorph, so yeah. Yeah, Lance Henriksen tries to wield a flamethrower against the Predator. Don't you turn your back on me. He scorches him, and the Predator then considers him a threat and shanks him. Yeah, not as badass as Bill Paxton going out on a train fight, but yeah. We waited for an alien tier list. Yeah, the Predator. Scar, that was what they nicknamed him. I like the alien Grid, who had like the weird net over him and gave him the acid markings. Agatha De La Bola played Adele Rosso. Well, Scar actually takes Alexis actually as his apprentice. I thought they were more so partners. He gave her like that Xenomorph shield and the tail became like a spear for her. Yeah, we see them team up, they kill the Alien Queen together, the Predator actually does die, however, Sonya Lethane actually finishes the Queen off. They tie a chain around her neck, or no, it was the chain that was already bounding her to the pyramid. They tied it around like a water tower, and she and the Predator both kill it. The Predator gets shanked by her and almost dies, but Alexa saves the day. They drown the Queen, and she's taken to the abyss, where we presume she drowns to death. Unless you watch Alien Resurrection, where you know the Xenomorphs can swim and don't need to breathe. But yeah, the Queen is killed, and the Yautjas show up, and we find out this was all actually a test for the Predators, and they show Alexa respect. They take away their last brother's corpse, and give her the marking of the Xenomorph, so now she has a scar to remember this by, and she's treated as a respectable human among the Predators. Then when they board their pal into the corpse room, we see an alien hatches out of him. And this was kind of the one thing that bothered me. We see like a face hugger jump at him, and it is a very predictable twist ending that, yeah, the Predator got impregnated by a xenomorph, leading to the Pred alien for the next movie. Honestly, this movie is actually pretty badass. I just think it's very fun. It's very dark, very creepy. Paul W.S. Anderson's action scenes are actually very great in this film. Some sketchy CGI, but a lot of it holds up way better than Resurrections. And the final girl and Predator team up against the Queen as like a boss fight is just so fun. I love this movie because it showcases the best of both franchises and does a spectacular job at it. Dr. Moon and Doctor Who. The Queen mostly died because even at high depths, water pressure can actually even crush steel. Okay, so she is dead. I am sad the Xenomorph Queen is not hot, like not having a human form. I gotta check for the internet for that fan art, bro. Colin Salmon. Okay, all his roles. Would you say that would have benefited from an R rating? Yes, absolutely. This movie suffered the PG-13 curse. Like, the humans are implied to die very gruesome and visceral deaths, but they always cut away before we actually see blood. I think the most grossest death in this movie is the chestburster scene. We just see the chestburster breaks out of this girl, but it's like 2 seconds long, then they cut away. The PG-13 rating kind of holds it back a bit because the Predators and aliens are not allowed to be as violent as they usually are, because both these sagas are very hardcore body horror movies, and Alien and Predator are vicious hunters, so you kind of wanted to see them hunt viciously. We agree on that. Gabber and AD, The Bible Chronicles. I rather stay with Mina Ashido, aka my favorite alien queen from My Hero Academia. Okay, so this movie is fun. It's really kick-ass. The Predators are awesome. The aliens are awesome. Alexa is a very cool final girl. The story is very simple, but I do like the world building it gives. Unfortunately, this movie is kind of held back by generic human characters you don't care about, a lot of PG-13 deaths, and yeah, they do kind of retcon the Alien vs. Predator movies later, thanks Ridley Scott, but overall, I would say it's not bad. This one is definitely an A-tier movie for sure. We get the sequel, which some people have mixed feelings on, but I think Alien vs. Predator still holds up well as a very fun and delightful crossover. Highly recommend checking it out. It is still a golden fun time. The only scene that was able to get over PG-13 or not was Sebastian's death. Yeah, but his chestburster death wasn't also very bloody either. Alright, now we get to one I know you all been looking forward to, Alien vs. Predator Requiem. Yep, we got a sequel a few years later following none of the characters from the first one. Alright, Requiem I honestly don't think is as bad as people say. You would think this one would be rock bottom, but nope, I'm actually gonna put it on Stay Frosty. Yeah, I might put it behind Resurrection. Requiem, honestly, I did not hate this movie. It has its flaws and very, very stupid characters, but honestly, I thought it was pretty fun. I thought it really upped the ante of the first one. Requiem is actually a hardcore R-rated horror movie, and it does showcase the best of the aliens, but not so much the Predators. The one thing I hate about this movie is the Predators kind of take a back seat in this one. It is a full-blown xenomorph invasion. I was supposed to say the second movie was overheated. Ewan Broom, overhated, yeah. Ewan Broomer as Dr. Graham Miller, also Junior Angel and Judge Dredd, Sherlock Holmes and Houdini, and Doyle and Charlie in Wonder Woman 2017. Like, it's a shame we didn't get a third Alien vs. Predator for now. Might not, depending on Disney's new direction for them. They do tease that aliens still exist. The beginning was actually very good because I always love it when the sequels start seconds where the first movie left off. Yep, we meet the Pred Alien, the alien and predator hybrid monster. It bursted out of the predator's chest at the end of the first crossover, then we actually see it go on a rampage in this crossover. I would have liked it if the Pred Alien was its own faction in this war, but no, it is Team Xenomorph. It turns out the Pred Alien broke loose and had a bunch of eggs with it on board the Predator ship. It causes the Predators to crash land this giant Star Destroyer-sized ship in the middle of the suburbs. And of course, the aliens are on the loose. A Predator named Wolf, yeah, it is actually named Wolf. The lone wolf predator finds out that the predator ship crash land, and it goes on the planet to basically cover up everything like a conspiracy. The wolf predator is pretty badass, but not in the movie as much as the xenomorphs are. What made this movie very fun is what if the xenomorphs invaded our modern day planet? Yeah, this is why I defend the movie. The xenomorphs fully go on a killing spree and an invasion plot. The Pred Alien releases the eggs and infects a whole bunch of people. A little boy and his father are out hunting and they get face hugged, where more xenomorphs are born, and we see the aliens invade this entire small town, and I think it's actually pretty fun. Like, Wolf is missing. Well, Wolf doesn't really like doing these tier lists with me. The movie also was not afraid to kill off its main cast. Yeah, that made it very much high stakes. Never a big fan of the franchise, but don't get me wrong, seeing Sigourney Weaver in her undies and tank top got my attention. Yeah, one of the best final girls ever. So strange we never get to see the female predators, as shown that Wolf did detectives from his planet that was light years away. Yeah, we never got to see female predators. I wonder if they're kind of unsure if they want to make them hot or not. Okay, so basically we meet these two brothers and they're living their lives. There's a lot of old school horror tropes and cliches. We meet loser outcasts, the idiot bullies, the stoners, the hot girl next door, the nice sheriff, the incompetent sheriff, and yeah, basically a whole bunch of tropes and generic characters. There is a lot of cannon fodder in this movie, but some of it's very good. This movie was not afraid to embrace its R rating. Like, actual pregnant women die. The Pred Alien can infect them and kill their embryos and replace them with xenomorph babies. That was like the grossest scene I've ever seen, but I kind of like that it went that hardcore. Like, a hospital gets invaded and converted into the alien hive, and slowly but surely they find out aliens have taken over the town. They're killing a dozen people. The idiot bully dies his ironic death. Two of the bullies get killed in a swimming pool by a xenomorph, and acid blood melts the idiot bully's face off. Very gory scenes, but I do like them. The two brothers, basically one's an ex-con on a redemption arc, and one is kind of a loser who becomes a man and starts fighting back. I do like the brothers, but yeah, the story, it is kind of generic slasher movie. It does feel like Freddy vs. Jason at times. We also got pure vintage Predator, where he skinned a person reminiscent of the original Predator movies. Yeah, he actually did skin a guy in this. I forgot they didn't do that in AVP. We see his victims were not even brutalized when he was hanging them up. So, the hot girl next door, yeah, she's hot, but she's also a total idiot. Like, she runs away and screams all the time and got killed by complete accident by the Predator's frisbee weapon. That part was really stupid and hilarious, and also the line, "The government doesn't lie to people," and everybody looks at her like she's the stupidest person in the room. That part was actually funny. So, I do like seeing the aliens doing a full-blown invasion. It is fun. It is very visceral. They take out a power station. They're like in the sewers hunting and picking off one by one. There's only one predator in this movie. However, the worst thing I have to say in this movie is the lighting. Yeah, the lighting is god awful. This movie was made by two special effects brothers, and it is very clear this was like their first movie ever, because sometimes it's hard to see stuff in this film. There are way too many dark and shadowy shots that when there's supposed to be an alien or a predator on screen, you can't see it. Like, you can hear the dramatic music, but you don't see the aliens, and not helping that the monsters are both pitch black in a movie that takes place predominantly at night. Why did the aliens have to go to the power system? Well, again, the xenomorphs are hyper intelligent, so I believe they were trying to take away the power. Chandra Moore in the CSI episode Viva Las Vegas. And Wildvine in Ben 10 2017. Wasn't that D. Bradley Baker? Oh, David Hornsby. Okay. Alright, so basically this entire small, peaceful suburb is attacked by the aliens and one predator. Yeah, that part also kind of lost at points. We had like 3 to 4 predators in the first one. In here, it's just the lone wolf predator fighting an armada of these xenomorphs. No, we do not see an alien queen. The pred alien is kind of the main leader of these xenomorphs, and the pred alien is pretty cool when you can actually see him. He's part xenomorph, part predator. They gave him those stupid dreadlocks and that buff body, so he does look pretty cool. The pred alien is tearing up the neighborhood, and we find out the government is going to nuke this entire town to kill the xenomorphs because there's nothing they can do to contain it. And yeah, basically becomes a run for your lives, the clock is ticking, try and escape the city before it's nuked off the face of the planet. And one of the friends makes the stupid decision to trust the government and round up the entire town and wait for them to rescue them. Surprise, there is no rescue. They're gonna kill you all and bomb the entire city. So felt kind of bad for this guy because he was actually pretty likable, and he makes the stupid decision of trying to save the entire town and go to a quote-unquote safe zone, but no, they're being mercy killed. So, the entire town gets nuked. There's this knockoff Ripley and Newt character. I did not really care for these two. The Marine woman coming back to her family. They have zero reaction to the husband slash dad being killed by a xenomorph. It is kind of hilarious how the little girl completely gets over her dad being mauled to death by an alien. Yeah, that kind of costs it points, and I did not care for this knockoff Ripley and Newt duo. They were just kind of annoying, kind of there, and barely react to the horrors around them. Yeah, nobody really wins in this movie. Yeah, nobody does. The two brothers, knockoff Ripley and Newt, managed to get to a chopper because we needed to say that quote. They get to a hospital chopper, they fly off, barely escape, and the entire town is nuked, and every character we followed pretty much dies except for the main 4. Then the government finds them, and I guess they earn a happy ending because they're taken away for questioning but are alive and not executed because they don't have alien residue on them or something. Yeah, the government pretty much covers up this entire thing, and the main characters get their redemption. However, they kind of leave the door open for a third one, which still hasn't happened yet. Requiem, I think, is honestly okay. It is not the worst movie I've ever seen, and honestly, I think it is really overhated. The worst part about this film is the lighting. The lighting is too dark. That is kind of a factor, because I want to enjoy seeing the cool effects and action, but when everything's pitch black, it's very difficult. Molly O'Brien is the little girl. Did not like her that much. All in all, the ending was the worst part of this movie. It was so bad to the point where I didn't even care for a third one. Yeah, what are we supposed to look forward to? Alexa and these random characters teaming up in the third film? No, thank you. Requiem, honestly, I don't think it's that bad, but it also has its flaws, so I'm putting it right smack in the middle on Stay Frosty. Yeah, I think that is putting it nicely. This one, right smack in the middle, under Resurrection, because Resurrection was at least fun. But now we finally get to Ridley Scott returning to the franchise to give us retcon prequels. Yeah, we're on Prometheus. Oh boy. Now I'm gonna piss off a lot of people. Prometheus, I hated. This one going on to Game Over, man. Yes, I hate Prometheus. I do not get what people love about this movie because it is boring, sloppy, and all the characters are colossal idiots. Chris William Martin. Sorry, just checking my commentary. Chris William Martin as Deputy Ray. Actually, Cat Prometheus is neither a prequel or sequel. It's a random alien movie that happens within the same universe. Yeah, that's kind of what Ridley was going for. So, yeah, this was quote-unquote a prequel to Alien, but no, it's a spin-off movie that Ridley Scott set in the same world as Alien. And unfortunately, the marketing tricked all our dumbasses into watching it, lying and saying it was going to be the origin for the xenomorphs. And I hate it. I really hate this movie. It is slow, boring, preachy, has characters who are colossally stupid, it has amazing effects, but really bland storytelling, and Ridley Scott lost his mind. Ridley Scott did not know what he wanted to do with this franchise, and it feels more like a Blade Runner movie than it does a Aliens film. Like the origins of the xenomorph sucks. Yeah, it does. So, what is the origin of the xenomorphs? Well, the xenos actually evolved from black goo. Yeah, really. There's this ancient race called the Engineers who are pretty much these big CGI albino guys. They're like buff and muscular and 9 feet tall. These Engineers basically create worlds and civilizations. The Engineers use this black goo, they commit suicide, and their blood links with this black goo, and it forms microbes that will eventually evolve into different alien species. And it's implied these Engineers created the Earth, and Ridley Scott's actual theme of this movie is creationism versus evolution. And yeah, this was the part that really lost everyone. Basically, Ridley Scott gets philosophical in these alien films, and boy howdy, is he not very good at them. It's alright, but you have to basically watch it with the idea that it has nothing to do with the Alien franchise. Exactly. Like Mino Ashidio is better, and do you agree, Cat? I don't know who that is, alright? Never watched My Hero Academia all the way through. Okay, so the Engineers are these mysterious philosophical aliens who use this black goo and themselves to create new civilizations and new life. The story jumps to the future like a few years before Alien 1, where we're following the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, where a team of explorers are going off into a different universe to find information on the Engineers. They want to find answers to the questions of what is the meaning of life, and they believe that these aliens created their ancient civilizations and want to find proof, or at least stuff they can detail and understand. They're exploring the cosmos on this long space voyage, and it's pretty much a over-the-top Star Trek episode. So, the best things about this movie, it is visually beautiful. Yes, Ridley Scott's effects, they are awesome. This movie is visually stunning, a lot of great imagery, a lot of great scenes, a lot of CGI that still holds up very well. Unfortunately, good effects and imagery are not enough to make a good story. The story is slow, it is boring, it is bland, and you really do not get attached to any of this science crew. Yeah, Idris Elba is in it. Idris Elba is Janek, the captain. Shaw is kind of our knockoff Ripley character. And we meet Michael Fassbender's David. Yeah, David is in this movie. David is an android. He was created in Mr. Whalen's image after Michelangelo's David. Michael Fassbender, he's the only good part in these prequels, and unfortunately this film does not do his talents justice. Charlize Theron plays this bitchy daughter of Whalen. She's kind of supposed to be like a Miranda Lawson type of character, but very much unlikable. And we meet a bunch of other expendable idiots who are there to be expendable idiots. They explore this planet and indirectly lead to the creation of the xenomorphs. It is very hard for me to explain, but they go there, two of the scientists are killed by this penis snake, and the characters are stupid in this. They see a wild animal and like, oh, let's poke it, and big shock, it friggin' murders them. Some of the crew turned into monsters, are mutated. Shaw's boyfriend is like this total racist douchebag who treats Michael Fassbender like he's nothing, like he's just an inanimate object because he's an android. And Michael Fassbender kind of orchestrates his death, which makes you question if David is supposed to be good or evil. He like poisons him with a sample of the black goo, and it mutates him into a zombie or something. Scott is trying to go for a cosmic horror story where these weird creatures that they don't understand slowly pick them off and kill them, but they're just so stupid, bland, and boring that you really don't care. Yeah, Noomi Rapace as Elizabeth Shaw, also in Alien Covenant Prologue The Crossing. Yeah, unfortunately Shaw is a character who goes really nowhere. Michael Fassbender as David. Yeah, he's Magneto from the X-Men and unfortunately the Jonah Hex movies. I really didn't like the old man Bishop scene because they couldn't get an old man to play Bishop. Yeah, that was weird, especially because Bishop is still alive in Alien 3. Or, no, Wayland is. Wayland is still alive there, so apparently all of his descendants look like Lance Henriksen, but they didn't get him for this film. Okay, so Wayland Yutani believes he actually found the cure for immortality. Like, he wants to become immortal. We meet Old Man Wayland, the CEO's founder. He fakes his death, but was actually in cryosleep, and it's a rather needless and stupid out-of-nowhere twist that Mr. Whalen was actually on board on this mission in a cryopod that his daughter was monitoring. Charlize Theron is actually the daughter of Wayland and was using the crew to find this black goo because the black goo contains this magic DNA sequence which can cure all ailments. Like, it could help this old man become immortal and regain everything he lost from aging, and it does not make much sense because they don't dive that well into it, and basically Scott is up his own ass with his weird philosophical debate of man playing God, the meaning of life, and the creator versus the creation, and all these dumb philosophical questions that really get no answers. So, who is the villain of this movie if the aliens are still babies evolving? Well, we see prototype aliens, like a prototype facehugger, a prototype chestburster. There's like this weird starfish thing that grows out of Shaw's tummy. It like facehugged her and she was able to do surgery to rip it out. They have like this weird surgery thing that can do anything and heal you. And yeah, she's able to rip a baby fetus alien out of her, and yeah, it's this weird starfish facehugger thing, and she gets her stomach stapled like in a few seconds and is walking again. It is very ridiculous, but we find out who's the villain? The engineer. Yeah, the space jockey from Alien 1 is an engineer. It turns out they found a cryopod containing a still living engineer, and Wayland and Michael Fassbender's David crack him open and they want to ask him questions, want to make first contact with the engineers, and completely out of nowhere, the engineer decides to kill them all. Sorry, catch up on comments. Yeah, they couldn't get Lance Henriksen, even though he was an old man by this point. Yeah, I like Michael Fassbender. He's the best part of these movies. Like, this is like the Venom movie scrapped than Alien. Exactly. Gotta give Shaw this. She's the only human so far to survive a xenobirth. Sort of. Well, it wasn't fatal back then. Charlize Theron. She's Atomic Blonde. Shaw got an Alien 3D, lol. That's right, this movie wasn't 3D. Okay, so Wayland wanted to make first contact with the engineer, and with no explanation and out of nowhere, the engineer tries to kill them all. He rips David's head off, he kills Mr. Wayland, and he activates his ship, which actually has this black goo-powered super weapon, planning to destroy and terraform the Earth. They never explain why, and the engineer never talks or speaks to them, so you're kind of left guessing what the hell this means. He wants to destroy the Earth, and according to Ridley Scott's commentary, he was unimpressed by the humans upon seeing and talking to them. He deemed them failed creations, and wants to destroy our Earth to start over. Yeah, really, it could have used a simple explanation, but no, you had to figure that out. So, the engineer decides to kill all humans, and it leads to Idris Elba and crew heroically sacrificing herself to destroy the giant mega terraforming ship. Shaw, for some reason, befriends and forgives David after all of this, and they manage to disable the giant ship, and we get that infamously stupid scene of Charlize Theron and Shaw running away in a straight line from the falling Star Destroyer. It's like, why don't you turn to left or right? Yeah, this is the CinemaSins, the Prometheus school of running away from things cliche. And yeah, they look so stupid. They're trying to run from this thing and never think maybe I should turn left or right. And Charlize Theron dies because she was an idiot who couldn't turn. And Shaw manages to survive the crash, but haha, the engineer's still alive and after her. So she tricks the engineer into getting killed by the prototype face hugger. Like, the face hugger grows into a kaiju-sized starro monster and tentacle rapes the engineer. And yeah, that pretty much kills it. The engineer dies and she blows up the mega Star Destroyer ship, destroying the black goo, and we're left very confused with a ton of unanswered questions. Shaw manages to find and recover David's severed head, and they're just cool and become friends after this. Yeah, David betrayed her trust and orchestrated the murder of her fiancé, but she doesn't care, she's over him now, and they both go off in this unexplored planet to find a way off, working together as friends, and then we get our twist ending where the engineer died but gives birth to the prototype xenomorph. A version of the xenomorph we never see ever again because this movie was retconned in the sequel. Prometheus sucks. It is slow, it is confusing, it is very boring. They basically trick you into thinking this is going to be an Aliens movie, but no, it's this weird cosmic horror story that's set in the Alien universe. The engineers are lame monsters. Ridley Scott basically ruins a lot of the mystique and wonder of his original masterpiece, and the xenomorphs are practically not in it. It's worse than Alien 3. Yeah, to me, it definitely was. Shaw got Alien 3D, lol. I know a lot of people really liked Shaw, but honestly, I didn't really care for her. I found her kind of boring. She was basically a Diet Ripley, and that's all she ever was. She's a strong, independent woman, and she rips the alien out of her, but that was badass, but the rest of the movie did not make me like her. She's also kind of dating a racist dickhead who treated David like crap. Easily one of the most cartoonish plot twists in a serious movie. Yeah, they kind of treat the xenomorph like a supervillain rather than a horror monster. Jackson Bryce, shocker number 1 in Spider-Man Homecoming. Yeah, Guy Pearce was Peter Wayland. Also, Aldrich Killian in Iron Man 3, the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz, the theater version. it's worse than Alien 3. Yeah, because Alien 3 actually had moments I liked, and Sigourney Weaver definitely held that up. Prometheus, it's boring, it's confusing, it's very preachy, it's a mess. The engineer is a god-awful villain. I'm just gonna say it right now. I'm not a fan of the engineers and the infamous black goo. That was stupid. And the xenomorph shows up at the end, but it's not really the xenomorph, it's a prototype version. It's like this weird melted liquidy looking xenomorph, and it has a double jaw rather than the tongue mouth thing. This worse, like, no female xenomorph that are hot before they're ugly for him, like they got Thanos snapped. The worst part is they actually tease the alien queen does exist. There's like a statue or a hieroglyph of her, but the xenomorphs are completely different when they're born in this movie. Yeah, the protomorph, that's what it was called. The protomorph mysteriously disappears too, so that did not help this movie. Prometheus, don't recommend it at all. It is 2 hours of your life you're not getting back. Yeah, the effects look pretty and the imagery is cool, but the story is a mess. You don't really get what's going on for half of it. It is very philosophical. It's trying to be deep and compelling, but it's just not. The characters are very forgettable or unlikable. The kill scenes kind of come out of nowhere and get really no build-up, and no, that does not make it a horror movie. It's supposed to be a cosmic sci-fi, like something out of H.P. Lovecraft, but failed to grasp what made Lovecraft's stories terrifying. This one I think is easily the worst one, but we're now getting to the follow-up, Alien Covenant. So, after the divisive reception of Prometheus, Ridley Scott pretty much threw a temper tantrum and tried to start over with Alien Covenant. And Covenant was also pretty bad. This one, going into game over, man. Yeah, I might actually put it above Prometheus because we finally got xenomorphs, but yeah, this one sucked. Alien Covenant. This is one you either love or really, really despise. And I'm in the despise category. Alien Covenant was a step up over Prometheus, but oh boy, all of Ridley Scott's greatest weaknesses and worst writing traits are on full display in this movie. Jonathan Harker in the Dracula TV show. Oh, Rafe Spall. Okay. But it won a Sierra Award for Best Art Direction, like why? Well, that's the thing, Akira. It won for art direction, and the art that Scott was directing was pretty good. The story was what was crap. Anyways, on Alien Covenant now, where we finally see the origin of the xenomorphs. And boy howdy, you're in for a wild retconning ride. So, the twist villain of this movie is David. Yeah, Michael Fassbender's David is the creator of the xenomorphs. So this one tries to rehash a lot of the first movie, and Ridley Scott pretty much lost his mind by the time this movie came out. It's like H.P. Lovecraft, only gay. Yeah, I'll do the fingering. Classic line. Like, what's next? Alien Bloodlines, Motherhood, or any stupid sequel names? Okay, so Alien Covenant is one of the worst sequels of all time, and I do think it is just as bad as Prometheus, but it actually has the xenomorphs, and Michael Fassbender is the best part of this film, so 1 point for that, but it's still pretty bad. So, once again, we get a rehash of Alien 1, but with a lot more stupider characters. This group of colonists managed to detect an SOS message, and I kid you not, one of the characters hears a country song they like and decides to investigate it. They receive an SOS message and decide to explore it, leading to, of course, alien hijinks. They land on the planet from Prometheus, where David is still alive and somehow grew a beard despite being a robot. Yeah, it's really weird. They land here, they meet Michael Fassbender's David, and we get the selling point of this movie. There's two Michael Fassbender robots in this. There's David, and then there's the other one whose name I can't remember right now. Covenant was basically just a remake of Alien for the third time. Exactly. They meet David, and David is this crazy survivalist who takes them in, is secretly trying to do an evil scheme behind their back, and the space colonists are realizing that they're in the company of a complete psychopath who's really using them. Basically, David is the twist villain. We find out David's here doing experiments on the xenomorphs and trying to perfect them. Sorry, I just need some water. David is running crazy-ass experiments and is trying to perfect the xenomorph to create the ultimate life form. Why? Because this movie is David's villain origin. We see when Old Man Whalen constructed David and treated David like a thing. It turns out David is a complete robot psychopath who hates that he is the creation of someone else. He wants to be the creator. Yes, really. He was created by someone else, lived under someone else's control, and David wants to know what it's like to create life, to play God. He wants to not be the creation, but the creator. And he's creating his own family, the Xenomorphs. Walter, thank you, that was his name. I almost forgot. I saw this movie like twice and did not like either of them. Man, Alien Covenants, I was so hyped hoping I was going to go back to its roots, but all we got is a Prometheus sequel, and not a good sequel. No, we did not. So we meet Danny, Tina Goldstein, Fantastic Beasts. Oh, she was in that. Nancy Falconer and Fear Street. The Prom Street one was not good. Yeah, David and Walter. There's two Michael Fassbenders in this. Walter is the good Michael Fassbender, and David is the evil one. And the CGI is very good, which is why I put it above Prometheus. We see two versions of him. There's David and Walter. David is the evil one. Walter is the nice guy android. And basically, David has an existential crisis. And in one of the worst twists ever, we find out he murdered Shaw. Yeah, Shaw, the final girl from Prometheus, that happily ever after they had, yeah, screw that, she's dead now. He completely betrayed and backstabbed her. He's been running insane mad scientist experiments on the Prometheus planet, and he plans to use the colonists as new test subjects. The colonists fight his alien test subjects and slowly but surely start to realize their android host is actually a total psychopath. We find out what happened at the end of Prometheus. Shaw was betrayed and turned into a test subject, and David murdered all the engineers. Yeah, the engineers in Prometheus, they're all dead. David came back in their Star Destroyer ship and used the stupid black goo to kill them all. Yep, the engineers are all murdered. They were punk killed by David, and he conquered their planet, deciding to take their place as creators, using their technology to create the xenomorphs. He creates a whole bunch of proto-xenomorphs. We see that weird albino Slenderman xenomorph, the Neomorph, and the Marines are infected by some of his test subjects. We got that really creepy shot of one of the parasite cells going in that guy's ear. A lot of creepy, hardcore violence, honestly. The xenomorphs go on a rampage, but the characters in this are so stupid. There was that hilarious scene of the Marine girl freaks out and has a hysterical woman moment. She's like crying and tripping over herself and tries to shoot the proto xenomorph, only to accidentally blow up the entire ship trying to kill it. That scene was just so stupid and funny. a lot of characters making idiot moments. Like, one of my favorites is the new commander of the team decides to trust this insane robot psychopath, realizing that he's evil. He's demanding he takes him to find some answers, and for no reason at all, he trusts and follows David all the way to his dark, creepy basement, and David tells him, look into this egg, and he's like, okay, and the facehugger gets him. Stupidest character ever. Yeah, of course, the robot psychopath who's been using you as test subjects and killing you betrayed you. What a shocker. Yeah, the stupid new captain dies, and we see the OG xenomorph born from him, and get that really cringy scene of David admiring him. You're my baby. And the xenomorph has a heartwarming father-son moment where it's like they're making the same gestures and holding their arms out like they're gonna hug each other. What the heck was that? Yeah, Walter is the good Fossenbender's name. Thank you. Sorry, catch up on comments. And drinking water. Yeah, David ate. The android takeover plot twist was so dumb. Are we even watching Aliens anymore? Yeah, this one felt more like a Blade Runner movie than an Aliens story. So, Ultron of the Alien series, yeah. So, this is what people really hate, especially me. David is the creator of the xenomorphs. The xenomorphs are no longer their own species. They're not mysterious monsters from reaches unknown. They're mutants. They were mutants bred in a lab by David. David is the ultimate mastermind villain. David created the xenomorphs. The aliens are not even aliens. They're mutants. They were bred in a lab and raised by this psychotic android who wants to be God. He wanted to create his own species and be the creator rather than the creation. And all this philosophical BS that Ridley Scott huffs his own farts with. The trailers for Covenant was just as misleading as Prometheus, honestly, because it was supposed to paint the aliens as the ultimate monsters of the movie. Yeah, they're kind of there. I do like the Neomorph. It is kind of creepy, very cold and Slenderman-esque, though we got that ridiculous CGI shot of it beheading a woman and the woman's head is like floating in a fountain, and they hold on this thing like for several scenes. Jussie Smollett, yeah. Like, did David behead her and throw her head into space? I'm back and glad to see Prometheus and Covenant in F. Yeah, hey, Shadowlink, we're talking about the prequels. We're on Covenant right now. Both of them suck, and we're talking about David being a god-awful twist villain. So, David has been befriending Walter throughout this movie, pretending to be friends, and how can I forget everyone's favorite scene? He shows Walter how to adapt and play instruments, and we get this bizarre homoerotic scene where he's holding the flute kind of phallically and says, "Trust me, I'll do the fingering." Everyone in my theater bursted out laughing when they heard that. We actually got a shower scene in an Alien movie. Yeah, that did happen. This couple are having sex in the shower, and the alarms are apparently not as loud as running water, so they don't hear the xenomorph on the loose, and yeah, a couple dies in a shower in this movie. Tess Hobrich as Sarah Rosenthal. Yeah, you don't have to bother naming cast members Akira. We don't really care about them. Billy Crudup. Yeah, he was the stupid second-in-command guy. He was Dr. Manhattan. Oh. Step down. While I didn't have hope and low expectations for Prometheus, I was looking forward to Covenant, and, well, they fucked up. They're mutants. Well, they were created by Magneto. Yeah, because Michael Fassbender. Very guilty pleasure that may or may not have been purposely implemented in by the directors. I'll do the fingering. Yeah, it's really weird. Walter and David have this homoerotic romance going on. Basically, David's trying to win Walter onto his side and betray the humans. And yeah, Walter is a good guy. He's actually friends with these humans. He and the final girl actually have a nice friendship. But the rest of the character is pretty much expendable cannon fodder. The xenomorphs go on the loose. They kill people. And there is a very obvious twist at the end of Covenant, and you can see this coming from a friggin' mile away. Walter turns good and fights David. They have this death battle, and they cut away but as we see David trying to grab a knife or something, and it is very obvious what happened and what the twist is gonna be. But yeah, one of the androids is taken out, and Walter seemingly rejoins the group. And the final xenomorph is born and it chases them. They finally get back to their ship. We get an epic chase scene. We do get the double climax that's in every one of these movies where the alien's on the ship. Ridley Scott actually has a murder in the shower scene in this movie, and come on, Ridley Scott, you were above that. You were one of the horror pioneers for a while. Yeah, apparently this couple's having sex in the shower, and the alarm is not as loud as running water, apparently, so it allows the xenomorph to get in and kill the couple in the shower. And yeah, there's your low-budget slasher kill. So the only survivors are the final girl, Walter, and the cowboy pilot guy. They fight the xenomorph, and it is very bad. They put CGI for the xenomorph, and it looks fake. I watched this movie in theaters, and I also saw it on my DVD, and it looked bad on both. The CGI does not look very good for the xenomorph. They fight it in the cargo hold, and this thing, which is supposed to be a hyper-intelligent space velociraptor, apparently doesn't jump out of the way when they drive construction equipment on it. Yeah, that's it. The xenomorph gets impaled and falls out into outer space. That is the end of the only alien in this Alien movie. So yeah, they manage to save everyone, they go to their cryopods, and we get our twist ending. Surprise, Walter was not actually Walter. He's David. Yeah, we all saw that coming. David swapped places with good android Walter, and now he's freezing everyone and is gonna use the colonists as his new test subjects, and we get that cringy, hilarious scene of Michael Fassbender barfing out facehugger eggs. Yeah, apparently he swallowed his babies and vomits them out, and he plants these babies with a bunch of human baby embryos, planning to run experiments on all the colonists now that he's in charge of the ship. Yeah, you saw this twist coming a mile away, and basically, it's implying that David is behind the attack and events of aliens. All those colonists getting infected on aliens, it's because of David. The xenomorphs being unleashed upon the universe, it was David. The xenomorphs' existence, all David. David is the ultimate villain. David is Ridley Scott's favorite character. David is this ultimate chess master Hannibal Lecter robot, and the bad guy wins in the end. Yeah, I saw the twist coming the second we see him show up. Yeah, this one sucked. I'll do the fingering. Sorry, I just went to find some actors that got best movies and TV shows. That's fine, Akira. Also, I'm glad Miraculous didn't get an akumatized villain as Alien, and no Horrificator doesn't look like a xenomorph. Nah, she doesn't. She looks like Barney the dinosaur. Another guilty scene that may or may not have been put in by the directors. And we have another Fantastic Beast actress in Aliens. Yeah, I forgot Michael Fassbender were in these. Oh, geez, this was a huge low for Magneto. Yeah, so the aliens are not really aliens, they're mutants. He made them in a lab. He made them off of human DNA, and he was the one altering their genetic sequence to create the ultimate life form, so the aliens are not aliens, they're now mutants, canonly, created by Magneto, Michael Fassbender. Ew, gross. Like, that's why I don't eat eggs. Yeah, barfing up the eggs, really gross. Okay, so Covenant sucks. It really sucks, alright? It's not good. It's a mess of a story. It retcons everything. It kind of cheapens the xenomorphs, and David gets way too much spotlight and way too much focus, and you do not buy that he is this grandiose mastermind psycho villain. David, being behind the creation of the xenomorphs, is agreed to be what ruined the franchise completely, and people did not want to see this character ever again, which is why Michael Fassbender has not come back to this franchise, and Alien Romulus kind of pretended that Covenant never happened. The characters are stupid, the CGI is actually pretty bad in this movie, there's a lot of wasted potential, the prototype xenomorphs, while interesting, are not really fleshed out all that well. I did like the neomorph kills, which is why it got points above Prometheus, and basically the storytelling retcons everything people liked about the Alien saga. I know this is Ridley Scott's baby, and he can raise it however he wants, but man, did they take away so much of the mystique and danger behind the aliens. Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking with these prequels. So much retcons and lore ruined. Skip these and pretend they don't exist. At least she looked cute in Fantastic Beasts. Yeah, Covenant and Prometheus, they suck. Easily the two worst ones. Going on to game over, man. Alright, I gotta use the restroom, but get excited. We're gonna do the return to form Alien Romulus. Tell me your thoughts below. I'll be right back. In the litter box, no one can hear you pee. Hey, Wolfpack, I'm back. Sorry, I had to. Alright, Alien Romulus, the newest and most recent Alien film that was released, and a lot of people really love this one. But I'll tell you what I think. You know what I think about Alien Romulus? I thought it was okay. Yeah, this one I'm putting on to Stay Frosty. I know a lot of people are going to be upset that this was the greatest Aliens movie we ever had since Alien vs. Predator 1, but me, I thought it was fine. I thought it was okay. There were a lot of great moments in this movie, a lot of high suspense, a lot of cool stuff. They made the xenomorph scary again, but I do have some issues with it, and one of them is pretty much the one you can all predict, the CGI Ian Holm. As for Romulus, my thoughts on it, meh. Yeah, I agree, Shadowlink. That one I actually found kind of mediocre. This one is another one. That's really all I have to say. It is like another one. It's another generic Alien movie. They do have a nice return to form. They go back to the grassroots of the first Alien movie. It is miles better than the prequels, that is for certain. However, not really all that great, far from perfect. It is trying to be a new generation's Alien 1 to mixed results. And on a high note with Isolation, good call. Yep, Shadowlink, we will end on that one. Then here's why Romulus had bad CGI, Ian Holm instead of Fassbender, even though Ian Riskin is still with us. Yeah, okay, so there is a CGI character. Ian Holm's Ash, or Ash's model, is in this movie, and the deepfake looks bad. It looks worse than CGI Grand Moff Tarkin. Yeah, really, they managed to outdo Rogue One's CGI Tarkin. They CGI Ian Holm. He's Rook. Technically, it's just Ash's model, but they call him Rook because they're all named after chess pieces. And yeah, it does not look good. Nerdrotic was right. He looks like Matt Damon, the Matt Damon puppet from Team America. Matt Damon. The face does not mesh well with the rest of his body. They really should have just had Michael Fassbender play the character, but no, they want to return to the roots of Alien. So, Romulus is not an overly complex story. We meet a group of teenagers, or pretty much like 20-somethings, basically these young survivors who are living on a Weyland-Yutani-owned colony planet. They're being forced to mine until the day they die. They're pretty much slaves. They call them indentured servants. They're basically forced to work in dangerous mines. They decide, screw this, they want to run away, where they try to steal the cryopods from a ship that is lost in outer space. And this ship turns out to be a Weyland-Yutani science vessel that broke out of contact with the main corporation. So, remember the alien from Alien 1 when it got ejected into space? Well, it turns out it survived. The first alien that came out of Kane, John Hurt, actually got crystallized into this weird cocoon meteorite after it was ejected by Ripley into outer space. It was founded by a science vessel who tried to open it up and run experiments on the xenomorph, but big shock, the xenomorph was still alive and went on a rampage, killing all the science crew. Our group of survivors are trying to basically hijack the cryopods so they can take it for their road trip, escaping from this god-awful planet. They leave the planet and try and steal the cryopods, only to accidentally uncover the xenomorphs, and they end up in a survival horror, trying to survive a new wave of aliens. Like the main female is an orphan minor. Yeah, Rain. Yeah, she plays Rain. Not the best Alien movie, but far from the worst. Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it. It's kind of a Silver Skull territory movie. There is some very questionable CGI, but when it's practical effects, it's pretty good. Basically, it's a return to form. It's exactly like trying to mimic Alien 1. Try and get the tension. The aliens are still creepy in this movie, but some of the CGI is very bad. They do use CGI xenomorphs in parts, some animatronics. Fede Alvarez, who directed the Evil Dead reboot movie, directed this, and to be fair, his movies are pretty gory and violent and fun, so there was definitely a sense of amusement working on this movie. My problem is, I do not really care about the characters. Most of them are pretty forgettable, interchangeable, and at least a few of them were total dicks who kind of brought their death on themselves. The interesting characters are Rain and Andy. Andy the android is the most well-developed character among them, and yeah, it is kind of ironic that the machine is more interesting than the human cast. Rain and Andy are like a brother and sister duo, but Andy's just a robot, and we find out that the teens are just using Andy and plan to ditch him because he's not a person like them. Yeah, we are bringing back the robot theme that was in these prequels. This movie is taking place after Alien 1, but apparently before Aliens. Yeah, really, it is a interquel of sorts. I'll take the heat off you, Cat. This is the only Alien movie I legit hate. Really, John Smith? Care to tell us why? It was alright. It was better than Covenant and Prometheus, which was a huge surprise because I was worried about this movie. Yeah, definitely a breath of fresh air after how god-awful Prometheus and Covenant were. I think people only praise this one as good was because the last few Alien movies have been complete trash. I remember it won the Dead Meat Award for Best Special Effects. Well, James A. Janice was too soft on it. At least it tried, and I say that it's only as good, if not slightly better, than Alien Cubed. What will be the next tier list? Not sure yet. I wanted to do one with Wolf. Might do an updated version of Predator. I just need to watch the cartoon that came out, the weird CGI one. Yeah, I heard it's not that good, but I do want to be fair. Yeah, I gotta add Prey onto the Predator list. Amara Nemini in Pacific Rim Uprising. Oh, her voice is in Dead by Daylight. some kind of R-rated Scooby-Doo mystery movie. Yeah, that is pretty much what it is. The younger cast are trying to figure out what's going on here, and it's kind of a reintroduction to the Xenomorphs. Like, it wants to be a new generation's Alien 1, showing you the Xenomorph, teaching you about the lore. The problem is, it feels a lot like the Alien equivalent to The Force Awakens. It's a return to the grassroots of the franchise, reminding you all of the good moments. My problem with this one is, one, I did not care about most of these characters. Andy is the most likable one in the cast, and he undergoes a much better arc than Rain does. Basically, Andy hacks the systems, and when they're exploring, they give him an upgrade from Rook, and it's implied that Ash, or discount Ash's personality, Rook, is influencing Andy and questioning his morality. This was the only interesting thing going on in this movie. Andy gets an upgrade and becomes a more sophisticated robot, and he's working for the Weyland-Yutani Corps now. It made him a lot more loyal to them, and turned him into a much colder, darker android, similar to Michael Fassbender's David. And basically they're questioning if Andy is really in there or not, leading to a morality clash between him and Rain. This part was interesting, but while this is happening on the side, there's a Xenomorph on the loose, and pretty much you don't really care about the characters. They're cannon fodder for the alien. Like, this androgynous Asian girl is used as a chestburster kill. There's this douchebag who, of course, dies, but his death was kind of disappointing. He dies from acid blood. There's supportive boyfriend who dies, but he's killed kind of off-screen. Very much a letdown. There was also a pregnant woman, and I did not need to finish the rest of the movie to know the pregnant woman was totally dead. This girl is pretty much doomed. If you're pregnant in an alien movie, chances are you're gonna die, and your fetus is gonna become an alien monster. Because Requiem kind of did this too. Yeah, big shock, pregnant lady dies, and basically, they fight the Xenomorphs. They're on the station, and there is way too much nostalgia bait. A lot of member berries, a lot of references to the old Alien movies, and yes, they reference everything. Where I kind of gave up on the movie is they brought CGI Ash back, and he says the line, "I can't lie to you about your chances, but you have my sympathies." And "Get away from her, you bitch." Really? Really? We're actually going there? Yeah, they repeat a lot of scenes from the good Aliens movies, and it is very much cheap. It is a cash grab. It's supposed to be this remember this nostalgia bait moment, member berries. Remember when they did this on Aliens? Remember the human-alien hybrid? Yeah, they reference all of the entire franchise. Science got a science and end up dying from it, as usual. Yeah, the android's name is Andy. It's supposed to be cute, but kind of come across as child-friendly. James Gunn almost did an R-rated Scooby-Doo, but changed it to PG. Yeah, I know that story. Don't know David Johnson's work. James Gunn will save Isabel Merced and Superman. Yeah, because Lord knows Madam Web didn't. A machine better than the human cast sounds like Megaforce. Heyo. Ooh, burn, Shadowlink. Yeah, Robo Knight had more emotions than Troy. Yeah, Isabel Merced was in Madam Web. Ooh, big step up for her in this movie. The getaway callback didn't even make sense. It was a queen alien. Yeah, did he, like, check its genitalia to call it a bitch? Really stupid. Alright, so Romulus has a lot of mindless action. I did think the zero-gravity acid blood sequence was pretty creative. That was like the newest thing in this movie. They're trying to swim through a zero-gravity room, and the acid blood is like everywhere. They're trying to dodge it, but all I could think is it would have been cooler if you were fighting the aliens while trying to get out, but yeah, whatever. She makes it through. They manage to escape, but we get that infamous double climax. They make it out, and surprise, pregnant lady died. How? Well, get this. They brought the black goo from Prometheus back. Yes, seriously, the black goo is back. It turns out, why is Weyland Yutani trying to harness the xenomorphs? Well, they want to milk the xenomorphs for the black goo, because this black goo can be altered as a cure for everything bad that happens to people. It can make you immortal, it can heal your injuries, it can heal your cancer. They were going to use it to test on the miners to heal their bad lung disease. The black goo is apparently a cure for everything drug, and they were milking the xenomorphs for it. And they use a black goo EpiPen, yes, seriously, on the pregnant girl after she was attacked and brutalized by a xenomorph. Mysteriously, she hasn't been killed yet, so you can predict where this was going. The black goo mutated her fetus into a human-alien hybrid. Yes, we're bringing this back, and they actually make the hybrid monster look like the engineer, and it is so goofy. A lot of people tell me they're scared of this thing. It looks bad. Like, they actually did get a guy in, like, this weird Slenderman suit, and he has this really stupid, goofy-ass grin on his face. He looks like Beavis from Beavis and Butthead. The human-alien hybrid was funny. It made me laugh. That thing was not scary. It looked worse than the monster from Resurrection. That is how bad the human-alien hybrid was. They tried to make it resemble the engineer to make the film come full circle, and it actually kills pregnant lady by breastfeeding on her to death. Yes, really, someone actually dies being breastfed on to death by the human-alien hybrid, and it made me laugh. It made me laugh. This thing is not scary. It has this goofy-ass looking face and this weird slasher smile. Like, hey, baby. It looks like hand banana, but colored white. The human-alien hybrid is so goofy, it did not scare me. I did not see what other people saw in this thing, and it breastfeeds a woman to death. That is just so hilarious. Like, breastfeeds on her and pregnant lady dies. Yeah, what a way to go out. And that's the only kill this thing gets in the movie, so it had even less impressive stats than the Resurrection hybrid. Sorry, catch up on comments, because I'm sure you have a lot to say. Spike Fern as Bjorn. He also did the Vandal in the Batman. Oh, he was the one that got beat up. They Get Away callback didn't make any sense. Like, how could a xenomorph see without eyes? They clarify in this movie, they see you with your body heat, they can hear you, they can sense your fear, and that's why the xenomorphs are very sadistic, because they prey on your fear. Yeah, a little too Freddy for me, but whatever. No, why the diet venom goo? Because they wanted to make this film connected to all the others, but when the black goo showed up, that is where I kind of lost points for it. I wish they left the black goo subplot away and just forget it ever happened. When the baby showed up, someone in my theater literally said, "What the hell?" Yeah, the hybrid monster, it is so ridiculous. And he was wearing a rubber suit as well. So, the hybrid monster was played by this basketball player who actually is like 8 feet tall, so good on them for the practical effects, but they kind of ruin it because his face and suit look so goofy. He looks like something off of a Power Ranger show. Why Aliens movie? Why? Great, like so lame. Alvarez also said he was open to directing a third Alien vs. Predator film, proposing to Melanie Brooks and Anthony D'Alessandro. He's probably not going to do a good job, though. I always like to believe that the xenomorph actually used either echolocation or just used their own unique senses to find you. Well, this movie confirms they can read body heat and can sense your fear. Yeah, really. So, basically, it comes down to just the two siblings. Rain and Andy survive. They have no reactions to their friends being horribly murdered on this mission, so you really don't really feel that high suspense, and they fight this goofy-ass looking hybrid, and how do they kill him? How else? They space him, they use the explosive decompression from Resurrection, because all we have are member berries by this point, and they jettison him out into space, they detach like a cargo part of the ship, and the human-alien hybrid dies in a more lamer death than the Resurrection hybrid, and that's it. She saves Andy, gets over all the deaths of her friends, and types her final message on a computer exactly like Ripley to remind you of all the better films. Okay, so this one I didn't hate, but it felt like another one. That's really it. It feels like another one. They remind you of all the good. Yes, they made it feel like the first film, but that's the thing. It felt like the first one, but wasn't its own thing. I call it the Force Awakens of this saga because it's reminding you of the better days of this franchise and playing all the greatest hits all over again, but it's not that perfect a film. I think it is pretty much fine. I would definitely say it's worth checking out for a watch, but I do not see this listed up there next to Aliens, Alien 1, or even the Alien vs. Predator crossover. It's whatever. I'm putting it on to Stay Frosty. Nostalgia is their secret weapon. Yeah, the member berries. But don't worry, we're gonna end this thing on the high note of all high notes, Alien Isolation. If you've never heard of this one, it is a video game. Alien Isolation, surprise, going on to the ultimate life form. And I actually will put it above Alien 1, but not Aliens. Alright, Alien Isolation, kick-ass video game. Yeah, we do have a survival horror video game on this tier list, and it is scary, man. It is definitely the true return to form that Romulus wished it was. Yeah, it pretty much is the Force Awakens of Aliens. Oh no, in that case, don't make no more sequels from this. We don't want a Last Jedi or Rise of Skywalker. All I know is it's a video game. Alien Isolation, the digital series, is an American adult animated science fiction horror web series. Yeah, this is actually the video game. This is the first-person survival horror video game. Alien Isolation is one of the scariest video games of all time, precisely because it made the alien a horrific stalker predator monster. The AI on this thing is insane. So in this video game, we follow the daughter of Ellen Ripley. Just to remind you of Ripley, Ripley is on a mission trying to find her mother, only to accidentally stumble upon the Xenomorph. The Xenomorph boards this giant Star Destroyer space station ship, and you basically have to survive and kill this thing before it kills you. However, the alien is nigh invulnerable, indestructible, and can kill you very easily. There is technically multiple xenomorphs in this game, but you fight one, and it shows you just one of these things is like a one-man army. The Xenomorph is always finding you, and it makes it very loud and clear. You do not have any weapons that can kill this thing. You have to basically survive. You're going around on missions, crawling around this quiet ship all by yourself, alone in the dark, and the Xenomorph is lurking around any corner, any dark hole or dark space, trying to hunt and kill you. You don't really start out with weapons. You have to find weapons. You have to crawl around the ship. You have to basically lead this thing away from you and survive it. And there is only one alien, and it is scary. It is a vicious primal hunter. It hears you when you make a noise, it follows you, it can sense your fear, and it tries to look around for you. You can hide in lockers, hide under beds, hide around the corner, but if this thing spots you and gets you, you are screwed. I love Alien Isolation. Good taste, Shadowlink. Andrea Deck as Amanda Ripley. Yep, that's her name. Oh, she was Martha Wayne in Batman Arkham VR. Did not know that. So, basically you're going around an entire super mega ship while this thing is looking for you. And you do come across other enemies. There's androids. The androids are much scarier in this game. This is happening like right after Alien 1, and the daughter is like now grown up, trying to find out what happened to her mom, but coming across the ultimate life form, the Xenomorph, and the Xenomorph practically is a boss fight. This thing has great health. You can scare it away with a flamethrower, can dodge it, manage to avoid it, but this thing is like constantly looking for you. It can like run and chase you down. It can kill you in basically one hit. And yeah, it captures the horror of Alien 1 greatly. It recreates that atmosphere the movies had perfectly. You're like alone, it's always quiet, there's no blaring music. If the alien gets you, it is always a very strong, solid jump scare. This thing can pop up out of nowhere, literally stab you in the back if it's behind you, jump you, and impale you with its creepy tongue if it's facing forward. And it's like lurking in the dark. One wrong move and this thing could kill you, and you will die so many times, even if you've mastered its AI. Why did you say that name? The Xenomorph arguably even surpasses Mr. X and the Nemesis from Resident Evil as a scary, persistent enemy. That's how great the developer made the Xenomorph. Yeah, the Xenomorph is pretty much unstoppable in this thing, and it is creepy. And then you find out in the twist, there's not one Xenomorph. There's multiple. You find out the space station has been infested by these things, and you have not been fighting the same one alien. You've been fighting a dozen Xenomorphs in separate parts of the ship. Yeah, there's technically an alien queen on board, but I don't think you meet her in this. I think you meet her in the DLC. Yeah, technically there was an alien queen brought aboard, and you're on a Weyland-Yutani vessel that was trying to hatch their own aliens, but of course science went bad and backfired on them. And there's been multiple aliens on this ship, leading to you on the final mission to purge the ship. And yeah, the final level is easily the most intense. You're trying to basically activate the supercomputer like Ripley did in the first movie and purge the entire ship of these Xenos. And you find out there's multiple aliens, you're fighting a whole bunch, you're crossing path through a bunch of eggs like a hatchery, and there's like 12 aliens on the outside of the ship hunting you down, leading to that very intense final countdown where you have to activate this thing as you keep seeing flashes of the Xenomorphs getting closer to you. And that final cutscene, really creepy. There's like 5 Xenomorphs up in your face trying to bite you, but no, Amanda Ripley manages to purge the ship, but double climax, because of course there is. You return to the ship trying to contact your friend, thanking them, but lost contact with her. Then when you open the door, one Xenomorph left, leading to Amanda Ripley spacing herself in the final Xenomorph. Milnar in Arkham Knights. Okay, just listing her roles. Okay, Alien Isolation, it is very intense, very creepy, very scary, very fun, and when that Xenomorph shows up, you are always at the edge of your seat, either feeling frustrated as a gamer or very scared of how terrifying this thing is. The Xenomorph is very much like a Generations Mr. X or Nemesis, the super persistent predator that won't leave you alone, and if there was any title that got close to recapturing the greatness of this franchise, Isolation is it. This is a very kick-ass video game and a perfect love letter to a great horror saga. Yeah, the malfunctioning androids. I remember Angry Joe parodied that. She's a guest actress. The game also has malfunctioning violent androids too, which, while scary on their own too, the Xenomorphs are definitely the better scary foes. Yeah, I kind of wish we got more of seeing the Xenomorph socking or bitch slapping those psycho androids aside. That was actually pretty funny and really cool. Yeah, there's scary androids that malfunction, and they become kind of breather villains in the middle of the game. If you're not running from the Xenomorph, you're fighting these working Joes. They have these really creepy, glowing red eyes, have the pale skin, almost Slenderman-like bods. Plus, you can at least fight back against the androids. Yeah, that definitely made the game a bit more bearable that they gave you a variety of foes. Yeah, the Working Joes, also pretty creepy minions to fight. Basically, someone you can fight back against. There's a lot of achievements for doing stuff out of the Alien Saga, like chasing it away with a flamethrower, or beating the android to death, kind of like how Ash died. Also, she played Mrs. Brief in Dragon Ball Z, Jane Johnson in Lego, The Incredibles, Tigers in DreamWorks, All-Star Kart Racing. Unfortunately, I don't have any of the DLC chapters on here. I've never played the DLC. I heard it was good, but if you think it's good, please tell me in the comment section below. I'm just counting Isolation as a whole. Yeah, this game, very good, very creepy. It is up there next to titles like Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 4, the Silent Hill games. Well, the good ones, like 2 and 4. But it is an iconic horror movie game, and one of the few movie-based titles that actually does pay a loving tribute to its movie saga. Highly recommend it. It's going up there, and I do think it is better than the first movie because it's kind of a playable version of the first film, but Isolation easily second place because it is an ultimate life form. And as you can see, that pretty much completes our tier list. We talked about all of them and even included Isolation to end on a high note. Talked about all the Alien movies, and as you can see, this franchise has done a lot more good than bad. Even Alien 3, I do kind of consider at least watchable. So, we'll go over it one last time for any of you late birds showing up or those of you who skipped to the end. The worst ones, the Game Over Man, easily the prequels. Prometheus and Alien Covenant suck. Ridley Scott completely torched and ruined his own franchise. I think these two are not only the worst Alien movies, but pretty much the worst sci-fi movies I've ever seen. And I've seen some bad Star Trek sequels. But you have my sympathies. Alien Cubed. I do not think it is that bad. There are some good moments here and there. It is watchable if you're binge watching these in a marathon, but there are some flaws, there are mistakes, killing off Ellen Ripley and really not caring about the main characters and the depressing tone hold it down for me. I'm putting it on the you have my sympathies column. Alien 3 is GOAT. I know you love it, Light Jones, but you also love Man of Steel. Stop the goat butt up with Alien and Aliens. No. Then Stay Frosty are okay entries. Requiem, I did not think it was that bad. The worst part about this movie is the lighting. If this comes to Blu-ray, they really need to fix that, or 4K. The lighting is god-awful, and there's a lot of dumb moments in this, but a lot of stupid fun moments I really like. The aliens are really creepy and vicious in this movie, so it gets points for that. Alien Romulus, which is okay. It's a nice return to form. Not gonna knock your socks off, not gonna do anything outstanding with this franchise, but it's the first Alien sequel that actually felt like it loved being an Aliens movie, so we'll put it right smack in the middle. Then Alien Resurrection. Yeah, controversial, but I do like this one. It's stupid, but enjoyably stupid. The human-alien hybrid is awesome. Sigourney Weaver, really hot in this movie. Winona Ryder, I really like her. And Ron Perlman, of course, is always fantastic, even in his crappy movies. So, Resurrection, it's really enjoyable. I'm gonna put it high up on Stay Frosty. But now, the good movies, not bad for a human. Alien vs. Predator, a great crossover, really kick-ass, dumb fun. The worst part is the human characters are not that interesting outside of Alexa and maybe Mr. Whalen, but the Predator and Alien, easily the selling point of this film. They are cool, they are kick-ass. It is a fun rockin' time. Basically just the R-rated Scooby-Doo movie of the Alien franchise. Yeah, it is. And it is done. I'm waiting for Hell Teacher Anube 2025 tomorrow. Since I'm excited, I hope Wolf could see it as a review. Wolf's working on a secret anime project right now, but that is not it. Guess we need to see Alien or Predator kills tier list. Yeah, that could be pretty fun. Bye, cat. I'm going to give my cat brother Oliver some food. Take care, Akira. But finally, the S tier, our top 3 Alien stories. Alien 1, a classic, a masterpiece. Was there really any doubt? It's not my number one, but I will not say this is a bad movie at all. It is a kick-ass horror movie in space, and easily one of Ridley Scott's best titles ever. Yeah, I do love it more than Blade Runner. Then Alien Isolation, kick-ass video game. Fun, intense, suspenseful, and ultra scary. Everything that is great about the Alien franchise is definitely in this title. Play this over watching Alien Romulus. It is that kick-ass. But our number one is, surprising probably no one, James Cameron's Aliens. This is one of the greatest sequels of all time. I love it. Badass action, likable characters. Ellen Ripley is cemented as a kick-ass final girl, and we're introduced to the Alien Queen, one of the scariest horror monsters of all time in this film. I love Aliens, and this one is my number one favorite Alien movie. So that pretty much completes our tier list. Take one last snapshot if you can't see them all. I'm probably only blocking out Covenant, but who cares about that one? It sucked. Yeah, as you can see, a lot more good than bad. We'll see what our next tier list is on. I know plenty of you have been waiting for the Predator updated ranking. I still need to watch that animated series, but that one won't be coming anytime soon. I have a 4th of July video already up on Patreon. It should be coming out once the holiday comes around. Wolf is working on a top secret anime review, so hopefully that one comes out very soon as well. What our next tier list is, not sure. Might do something Scooby-Doo related. That one did kind of cross my mind. Scooby-Doo or another Power Rangers tier list. But really love the Alien Saga. Been wanting to do this one for a while. As you can see, I clearly am an Alien fan because we had a lot of good more than bad ones. Skip the prequels, they suck. Prometheus, easily my most hated one. But Aliens, this one is the all-star classic. Alright, so I guess I should set you guys free. Thank you all for joining us, I really appreciate it. What do you want to see a tier list on next? Feel free to post in the chat or comments below. But, yeah, we're going to be signing off. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, or just tune in for more videos posted here on Wolf Entertainment. I'm your host, Catastrophe, and I'm signing off.